yahoo.com. The music you heard at the beginning of the show is by Machine Supremacy. You can find more of their discography for free download at machinesupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on amazon.com. The clip you heard was Every JRPG Ever by College Humor. You can find more of their videos on youtube.com under their channel, College Humor. How are you doing today?
Glad that I'm almost done fixing my mom's shed.
Still losing sleep to Destiny.
Now, do you put on an Amish beard when you're finishing that shed?
No.
Oh, well, that just ruins half the fun then.
No, I disagree. It's hot enough without having to grow on something like that.
I got my own. Jesse, what'd you say you were doing?
Losing sleep to Destiny still?
Why?
Just staying god-awful hours and still waking up at 6 in the morning.
Okay, quit your job. That'll fix everything.
No.
You know, it will fix everything, because eventually your Xbox Live account will run out and you can't play Destiny and you'll get some sleep. It's all cyclical. V, how are you?
Doing all right.
And what have you been up to in the last week? What was that?
Same old grind.
Oh, okay. For a second, I thought you said you became a bride. I thought I really missed something.
No, not yet.
Okay. I still have some things to work out between a few vendors, but my week has been pretty bad. I got rear-ended on Thursday. I went to the doctor, talked to a couple of adjusters. Things have been a little slow, and just today I found out they totaled my car.
Yeah.
Damn. That sucks.
Yeah, so the box I've been driving for 4 years and was nearly paid off is now gone. I had to go clean it out today. So the insurance people didn't find me at fault. They're offering me money and stuff, and I'm kind of sitting there wondering, should I really accept it or push for something a little higher so I can make sure I get another set of wheels at least? It's turning into a bad debate.
Yeah.
But, other than that, I'm alive and everything, but I got an injury I'm trying to deal with as well, so I'm trying to figure everything out. In the meantime, they've rented me this weird little Hyundai Elantra, which is not my style of car.
Too small?
No, I'm used to driving economy cars. That doesn't bother me. It's just, there's something about it that it's not the type of car I would drive. It turns well, it has decent pickup and everything, but just sitting in it, driving it, I'm not comfortable. I don't know what else to say. Maybe it's just because it's a rental car. Rental cars tend to be different than stock cars.
It's true.
But the story of this week is Ant-Man and Hollywood Babylon. We'll get into that discussion in a little bit. There is one Kickstarter that hit my feed this week. It's actually it looks like it's a webcomic that's being turned into a graphic novel. It's called Katrina Hates the Dead. It's a Kickstarter being done by Russell Nohelty. He's the writer and creator of this series. He's trying to create a print run of his series of a young lady trying to survive the apocalypse, and then being so frustrated with what's going on, she decides to try to get into hell so she can fight the devil.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
That's her plan. This Kickstarter has 7 days to go. It actually ends on Thursday, October 8th. Has 204 backers. The goal to get this turned to print is $5,000. Currently sits at $6,334.
Woohoo!
So it looks like his fan base came forward and helped him out with that. Some of the panel work is rather interesting. The image of this young lady named Katrina trying to survive and stabbing a demon in the junk with a sharpened stick, kind of interesting. Then she decides to brush off her coat, but she didn't pull out the stick. She left it there.
Ow.
So you see the guy. Yeah, you see the guy struggling a little bit, trying to remove it while, hold function of his bowels at least.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like one of those things where it could be a serious story, but the guy has a very strong, dark sense of humor about the whole thing. It's like even the cover is just her leather jacket, fingerless gloves, spinning a skull on her finger. which still has an I in it.
Dark. I like it.
So congratulations to him at least, and it looks like to get in on the print run, you only need to pledge $20 or more.
That's pretty affordable.
Yeah, $30 you get a soft cover as well as a PDF. At $30 you even get a 30-minute one-on-one Skype session with the creator. He'll talk about anything you want: running a Kickstarter, comics, setting up a comics, finding artists, the weather in Jakarta, anything.
I wonder how many people actually know where Jakarta is.
I don't know. It's kind of surprising, though, that he only got 2 backers at that level. He actually had more people backing at $45. It was a soft copy of it, signed and personalized softcover of Ichabod Jones' Monster Hunter, and signed and personalized print. Wow, only 2 guys wanted to talk to him, but apparently more people wanted signed stuff.
That kind of makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
looking at it from a collector's standpoint, or somebody looking to say, hey, this might be worth some money.
It's just kind of interesting because independent books tend not to be, in general, worth as much as industry books. So you would have to be a serious fan to go that route of collection.
Even so, something to collect would be more valuable, I would feel, than meeting the creator. Depending, I guess, on the creator, but...
It's all up to personal preference. I'm more into experiences these days. But we will jump from there into video game news. We talked last week about a potential SAG-AFTRA strike of voice actors when it comes to video game work.
Mm-hmm.
And it appears there's a little bit of pushback on that. Now,
From who?
Well, that's the interesting part. As a repeat, what SAG-AFTRA's union is looking for is, quote, they want it enshrined in contracts that there's better protection and pay when a role requires physically demanding voice work, such as repeated loud screams, clearer definition between the roles of voice actors and motion capture actors, the former is often expected to do the latter unexpectedly, and performance bonuses should a game sell over 2 million copies, unquote. And
so 2 million copies have some kind of threshold?
A threshold for potential bonuses for the voice actors, yes.
I'm saying for this, in games in general, is that like some kind of threshold?
I wouldn't know. I haven't followed sales of games in quite a while, simply because I started to realize that the more I was looking at statistics, the less I was playing games.
Makes sense.
But Will Wheaton recently wrote about this, and he wrote about how the dispute between actors and game publishers is partially about money, and tried to push back the notion that the voice actors are trying to take away cash from the folks in development. He said, quote, I can't speak to the fairness or unfairness of residuals or lack of residuals for programmers, artists, composers, and others who game developers and publishers, because that's not my job. I don't know what precisely their contracts are. I certainly don't believe that there's some sort of feud or lack of shared interest between us, the actors, and them. I fully support all the people who work on games, especially the huge blockbuster games that pull in profits that are in line with the biggest blockbuster movies, getting the very best contract with the best compensation and best working conditions they possibly can. I love the work I do. I'm grateful for the work I have, and I've been lucky to work with some incredibly talented people on both sides of the recording studio glass. This isn't about making enemies of the other creative people in the business, be they directors, studio engineers, artists, programmers, sound designers, writers, etc. This is about a handful of extremely wealthy, extremely powerful people trying to take away our ability to make a living, to take care of our voices, and to be safe on the set, unquote. What do you think of that statement?
Well, I think it's a generalization, but I'm assuming that is how the person actually feels about it, so...
Well, that's Will Wheaton's statement anyway about the situation.
Yeah. Couple parts of that sounds like might be a little bit PR, but he's usually really super outspoken, so that maybe not.
Yeah. Well, Alex Hutchinson, who is Ubisoft Montreal's creative director, he recently worked on Far Cry 4, and he said in response, quote, if Will Wheaton gets royalties on a game before myself or any of the others who spent years, not weeks, working on it, the system is broken, unquote.
But that's just one element of the entire thing. I
Right.
can see that argument, but that doesn't invalidate their other.
I know. I understand the argument. The problem is that voice actors, I don't know what their general pay scale is, but unless they're involved in a project that is just deemed to be ungodly popular, it tends not to be that big of a scale.
Yeah, no, voice actors really don't make a lot from what I understand.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. But
So, I mean,
it's a fairly difficult job in terms of hours and effort involved and not being compensated by things such as fame.
yeah, and I do understand the point of what SAG-AFTRA is after, because motion capture is a whole different beast than just voice acting.
Definitely. Yeah,
You know-
I mean, that shouldn't really be... That's kind of going, oh, hey, we have an extra body here. Do this for us.
Well, it's not even we have an extra body. It's just, if you think about it, that means that voice actors are required to do the same job as actors, but just because it isn't their face on the screen, they probably aren't paid near as much.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm assuming that if you go in to do a voice and like, oh, hey, we have you, here, go ahead and do some of this. That's kind of how it's sounding to me when they describe it, saying, oh, yeah, voice actors are, oftentimes, forced into that role. To me, it just sounds like, oh, well, if you don't want the voice acting part, we'll find somebody else, but otherwise do this too.
The way it was presented to me wasn't the way it is. It sounds more like they're hired to do a voice acting job, but after they show up, they're told, okay, so part of your job is we're going to put these dots on your face and these sensors, and we're going to capture everything you do as you do it. Well, that wasn't what I was told the job was. Well, that's what it is.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. They drag you in, and then they go, oh, and this. So, yeah, that... I don't know that having that motion capture is necessarily more demanding, because you're just talking with stuff on your face, but at the same time, it is an extra service, so they should be getting.
No,
some
it's more
for that.
time out of their day for the same pay.
True.
Because they got to put all that
That's true.
stuff on.
They got to put all that stuff on, and then they're acting out entire scenes instead of just standing in front
Reading
of a
a couple
microphone
of
reading
lines.
lines.
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah, I mean, honestly, 2 out of the 3 I can see them getting,
Yeah.
but the bonus after 2 million copies, yeah, that one's going to be kind of a hard sell unless they have some kind of specific reason. And
Yeah. And it seems like more than a few game developers have said, well, that's not fair because we work for potentially years on a project, but we don't get paid as much as the voice actors. It never sounded like they were trying specifically to take money away from developers. It sounds more like the voice actors are trying to get the money out of the suits.
Yeah, well, no, and I don't think that guy was saying, oh, no, he's getting paid more than me. It's saying, no,
But that's
he
not that
shouldn't
one.
get an additional.
Right. There was a subsequent statement by another developer who was complaining that if he's going to work for 12 years on a project and not get paid as much as somebody that works a few hours, then that's not fair.
Yeah, I really want to kind of see some numbers there, because I can't imagine with what I know of how much voice actors get paid compared to what this guy should be making salaried. Yeah, I want to see some numbers.
Yeah, I wonder if that guy with that particular complaint understands the difference between a voice actor who's done 50 different jobs and never had their face on camera versus like Kevin Spacey, who was recently asked to do a few video games. I'm sure he's not paid the same.
Yeah, probably not.
So, who knows? Further on in video game news, Call of Duty Black Ops 3. This is another example on why it's probably not a good idea to continue to buy games on the 360 and PS3 anymore. It was recently announced that the last generation consoles version of Black Ops 3 will not have a campaign at all.
What?
The last generation versions of Call of Duty Black Ops 3 will not have a campaign, only a multiplayer.
That doesn't surprise me, at least.
That's similar to what they did with the one with the mecha.
Titanfall,
yeah. It didn't have a real campaign either.
Well, that was intended for the current generation consoles. We're talking about a game that on current generation consoles has both multiplayer and campaign, but on last gen consoles, there is no campaign.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Well, that just tells me that their campaign, the old hardware can't handle it.
Probably. Beanox and Mercenary Technology were assigned the task of making the game work on older consoles. And campaign design... Yeah, the company said in a statement recently, quote, "The ambitious scope of the 1 to 4 player co-op campaign design of the PS4, Xbox One, and PC versions could not be faithfully recreated on old generation hardware," unquote.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't heard of a 4-player co-op except on recent generations.
Yeah, well, with the statement was also released the knowledge that the Xbox 360 and PS3 versions of the game, they also won't have weapon paint shop or esports tools either. They will get multiplayer in the zombie-filled Shadows of Evil mode and a $10 discount. The game is going to be $50 retail on those consoles. I don't think that's enough of a discount. Here's some interesting news. For the PC, an old staple is making a return. BattleTech is returning.
Really?
Yep, the old tabletop and book-based RPG game. The MechWarrior game is coming back to video games on PC. And this is not MechWarrior, the spin-off version. This is BattleTech itself.
Okay, so it's going to be more of a turn-based...
turn-based tactical mech combat. It's already up by harebrained schemes on Kickstarter. The goal to fund the project was $250,000. It has 33 days to go, 16,529 backers, and is currently clocking in at a whopping $1.102848 million.
Yeah.
Fuck.
BattleTech's a big name. I can't imagine them not succeeding at Kickstarter.
Yeah,
yeah.
This is going to be released on PC, Macs, and Linux.
Oh, awesome. I love it when they release the Linux version.
So, what's old is new again, I guess you could say. Speaking of which, how many people in this room have seen the movie The Lawnmower Man?
I've seen it.
No, I have not.
Wow, that was an emphatic no. What was the problem with the movie?
I never got around to watching it. 2, whatever. If I did, I don't even remember seeing a trailer for it, so it just never came on my radar.
Well, the reason I bring this up is because the Lawnmower Man in his day, its version of a VR simulator was some kind of weird skin-tight suit, VR goggles, and then it spun you around in a gyroscope, right? Okay, there is a new VR simulator that is being made by the Max Planck Institute for Biological Cybernetics, and it's a cable bot. A cable bot. I'm trying to think of the right way to describe this. Imagine a gigantic 12-sided die. Okay? Frame only, right? On it is a platform where a person sits and puts on VR goggles, and attached to this gigantic tetrahedron, if I use that word correctly, is 6 cables so that it can be pulled around the room and suspended in midair while making it move in the X, Y, and Z axes. You want to see a video?
Yes.
Sure.
I guess so.
Yeah. This will be the latest in VR simulators that you'll probably find in theme parks pretty soon, I would bet. I sent the video. MPI Cable Robot Simulator.
That's a D20.
Yep.
This is an amazing piece of hardware. Freely programmable trajectories in 6 dimensions.
That's awesome. It looks like fun.
That might play havoc with my downward motion sickness.
Yeah, I don't know.
Me too.
It's a very smooth motion, though.
I don't have that issue, so I would just be in this all day.
I'm also impressed on how well it controls the
normal.
tilt of it. I like how well it controls the tilt of the machine.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a face
Oh,
forward
don't
view.
give me this. Okay.
So you would actually feel all these sensations. Wow. As smoothly as that's moving around, I wonder how that would actually feel once you have that on your face.
Probably very natural.
An 80 kilogram carbon fiber frame.
Lightweight.
That'd be really light, yeah. I think I'd be heavier than that machine. Large workspace only limited by room size. I like how the lady in the test, she looks kind of bored.
Yeah, 80 kilograms. I'm heavier than that thing.
And then the cable set it on the ground and spin it.
No, then we just roll the dice.
That's pretty nifty, though. I would like to try that.
Yeah. No loop-de-loops, though.
I wouldn't ask for one. I'm not crazy. Last up in video game news. How many people in this room have played Portal?
Yes.
I have played it.
Enough to talk about it.
Okay, I beat it. And one of the more notorious things to come out of that game is a song by Jonathan Colton.
Not even angry.
Yes. Still Alive, sung by GLaDOS. Well,
Yep.
It turns out that Mr. Colton was not done with that particular song, or that particular game, I should say.
Oh.
Yeah, he actually wrote a new song based on that game. He calls it You Wouldn't Know. And the song didn't come out directly from the game, because the song came out from LEGO Dimensions Portal. You know, LEGO Dimensions, GLaDOS is actually in the game, as well as the character, I think, of Chell that runs around the middle of it.
Huh.
And it turns out they contracted him to make a new song that GLaDOS can sing. I take it I don't have to ask stupid questions?
Yeah. No, let's go ahead and hear this.
All
That
right.
is a definite iconic song.
Yeah. Well, I sent the video. And there's Lego GLaDOS staring at a screen and humming. There's music. Now, if you watch the screen in the upper left, lyrics.
Funny story, I forgot how much of a big fat mess you are. I've been busy doing science. It's been tons of fun so far.
It sounds like chill pop.
Everything clean, nothing
I like it.
on fire. All myself, finally. Strange when they don't replace your core. This feels so strange not to hate you anymore.
Remember, this is a murder machine.
But you wouldn't know, would you?
Oh, the cake formula.
A cake recipe.
I was saying this to Batman. Oh,
What?
he was here the other day.
Oh, right, Lego.
Maybe you know him, he's a big deal, but I don't think of him that way.
Oh, GLaDOS is one of ours.
He's just a friend, someone I trust, someone who won't kill me.
I don't know about that.
Just in case you
He's had
think
moments.
I'm not, I am. This time, I'm better with the friends I've got.
I wonder if this will end up on Rock Band 2.
But
I
you
hope so.
wouldn't know, would you? I don't mean for this to sting. I forgive you everything, you monster. I can guess the reasons why you are never coming back for me.
You won't come back for me just because I tried to kill you? Holy crap.
Well, you know, a computer can technically hold a note from Infinity.
I'm aware of that, but there is a
Phased
voice actor
into
behind this.
instrumentals, which is kind of
There's a
fun.
party with a real cake. Yes, it's real. A cake I made. Talking and fun. Testing and fun. All of this fun without you.
That's a lot of fun.
Too bad you let it get so out
This is one of those songs I could play in front of my kids. They would start bopping their heads until they started listening and go, Dad, what are you doing? Dad, seriously? And the companion cube crashes the screen.
That was cute.
Until you listen to it.
Still cute, but a disturbing cute.
From there, we'll move into Marvel media news. We talk about the Marvel projects that don't end up on the comic book page, whether it be books, movies, TV, video games, internet, which means everything hits the internet, but whatever. First up, the DVD and Blu-ray release of Avengers Age of Ultron happens this Friday, October 2nd. Mm-hmm. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Okay, but there was actually a little bit of explanation that was given out this week regarding one of the scenes that people found confusing during the viewings of the film, and that bizarre scene where Thor breaks off from the Avengers, grabs Eric Selvig, and then decides to go wading into a pond to discover more about what he doesn't know is going on in the multiverse.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, according to the director of the film, Joss Whedon, this is what he said on the Empire podcast. Quote, "The original scene was that Thor went to speak to the Norn, and how it would work was that he'd go in the pool and the Norn possess him, basically. And Eric Selvig asks all the questions, and the Norn, speaking through Thor, give the answers. So Chris got to do something different, and he really threw himself into it, and he did a beautiful job. But it wasn't well regarded by the test audiences, and I feel it's probably largely because it was a rough cut with no effects. But also because it's something that in a Thor movie would work brilliantly. But in this movie is just a little too left of center," unquote. So that's what was supposed to happen in that scene, instead of the bizarre flashback he had. The image to go with it is interesting. I guess he's talking to Selvig in this scene, but there's Chris Hemsworth, and he's making this weird face. He's tensing up every muscle he's got in his neck, so it suddenly looks like the buffest part of him. I need to get my hands on this because I want to see all the deleted scenes. Supposedly, they also added in the extra ending that they filmed that had Aaron Taylor Johnson in his new uniform that he might have had at the end of the film.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have to get this.
Well, like I said, the DVD and Blu-ray come out October 2nd, this coming Friday. However, that's not the only interesting news about people who annoy their directors. James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, currently working on 2017's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. One of the actors from the films has been sending him ideas and artwork for a potential spin-off film. And most recently, he received another tweet from Michael Rooker for a potential spin-off film based on Yondu the Archer, Portrait of a Ravager. It says in the tagline, "He's not Star-Lord, he's not Drax, he's real."
Okay.
And James Gunn retweeted it, and at the bottom, he put on it, "Guardians of the Galaxy spinoff? This is the kind of stuff Michael Rooker sends me at 3 a.m., unquote. No, there are no current plans for a Yondu spin-off film, and apparently Gunn and Rooker have a habit of working together, and whenever they work together, Rooker does have a habit of sending him fan artwork or just little ideas at very odd hours.
Is he like worse than the actual fans then?
I don't know. I get the feeling it's more playful. I think Gunn is probably asleep and wakes up to 10 tweets just saying, "Hey, I got an idea." Which makes me wonder what exactly Rooker does in his downtime.
Get drunk and send stuff, apparently.
In regards to Marvel Netflix, a new picture has come from the set of Luke Cage, actually. They're filming the Luke Cage series right now. And it turns out one actor's in it that wasn't even announced. And that is a new image that has to do with Frankie Faison. He's been in a lot of TV series and movies over the years. He's one of those actors that if you look him up, you will recognize his face instantly, but he's been in so many things. I couldn't name one project he's been in. However, it does look like he'll be playing a character that's known as Pops, running a barber shop. The images of him and Coulter sitting in lawn chairs outside this place. And Coulter as Cage is looking kind of impressive. He kind of embodies the weird frustration that the character tends to have throughout his history. You want to see the image?
Sure.
Sure.
All right. I sent it for you guys to take a look at.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the image of a guy who would like to strangle the hell out of whatever he's staring at, but just can't bring
He's
himself
just
to
looking at
do
you
it.
Like, really? You're gonna make me get up? You're gonna make me get up and kick your ass?
Actually, that almost reminds me of the legends about Christopher Lee. Nah, I ain't saying this. You come here and say it. It's a good image, though. He does look like Cage. I like it. Also, when it comes to images on TV series, there's a new image of the promotions poster via Entertainment Weekly of the next season of Agent Carter. It's an image of Carter in her new backdrop of Los Angeles. We've seen prior images where it looks like her friend Daniel Sousa is going to end up working the division she works for, Special Services. I sent you guys the poster so you can take a look. It is definitely an image that evokes Los Angeles, complete with the... God, what is that? The police headquarters in the background. The tower from it.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully this time she's treated like a full-blown agent and not dame that fetches coffee.
No,
You would think she's earned that by now.
maybe. I mean, well,
Yeah.
yes, definitely, but maybe as to be treated.
Even if she has the rest of the respect of the rest of the SSR, you know that people outside that building are not going to treat her seriously.
Yeah, no, I expect that much.
Yeah.
That's true.
Chloe Bennett's been awfully vocal lately, but that's kind of to be expected. Her season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Season 3, just debuted as of last night, the 29th of September.
Haven't watched it yet, damn it.
I have.
Neither I.
Let me tell you about how it goes. It's really cool.
Shut up.
Well, God. Comic Book decided to ask Chloe Bennett where she thought her character of Daisy Quake Johnson would end up when it comes to choosing sides in the Civil War. An interesting question, but a question to be asked anyway.
Mm-hmm.
She said, quote, "I think Cap. Not just because it's Chris Evans. I think it would be Cap because that just makes the most sense. Iron Man is not really for her, you know? I think Daisy's behavior up to this point and where she's been means she would go with Cap," unquote.
I agree.
Yeah.
When it comes to this version of Quake, I would wholeheartedly agree. When you're talking the comic books, hell to the no.
See, I haven't actually read her comic book.
It's not her
persona,
comic
so-
book. She,
Well, no, I mean, I haven't read about the character in comics. I'm only familiar with Marvel.
the Daisy,
you know,
the Daisy Johnson of
S.H.I.E.L.D.'s version.
Yeah, the Daisy Johnson of Marvel Comics has never been a hacker, always knew who her parents were, and frankly has the same S.H.I.E.L.D. clearance as the original Nick Fury.
Wow.
She's a level 10 S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. You know, she is a company girl through and through. She was actually the interim director of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a short period, even though she was only 18, 19 at the time. We're talking a total company woman.
Very different then.
Yeah, so in the comic books, I think she'd be behind Iron Man 100%.
Iron Man was for registration?
Yeah, he
Yes.
was very pro-registration.
Okay.
He believed that training would help save lives, where Captain America believed that their autonomy was what made them effective. Both valid points, though.
Mhm.
Yeah, agree.
We have another story regarding Marvel Netflix, and it's one you guys are going to want to see because remember last week we had a trailer regarding Marvel's Jessica Jones series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Turns out, almost the day after we had that, a new teaser trailer was released. It's only about 50 seconds, but it shows 10 times more character than the prior trailer did, even though it doesn't actually show the face of anybody. I sent the video. Netflix. Marvel. Just in case you forgot. 2:59 p.m. Hell's Kitchen, New York.
All right, my room's not even that bad.
Yeah, a lot of clothes, a lot of empty bottles, camera on the floor.
Hikikomori. Oh wait, this is US.
Well, remember, she's a private detective, former superhero. There's that clock at 2:59 p.m. and a bottle of bourbon behind it. Okay,
What the hell
that's
is this?
unpleasant. That's an alarm. And now it's not an alarm.
Very much not an alarm.
She squeezed it and it broke.
Oh,
Jessica
that might be
Jones.
one hell of a hand job.
All episodes November 20. That's coming soon, man. This will be the first property that Marvel's had on TV that has like actual super strength.
Really?
Oh yeah, if you think about it, before Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a more or less a show about people up until now. Daredevil, no super strength, not a bit. She's the first foray.
You're right.
And then right after her is Cage, and then after that is the Iron Fist.
I'm actually kind of
martial arts
looking
technique.
forward to Iron Fist out of all of them.
It's a big curiosity. Last up in Marvel media news. Hugh Jackman, he is leaving the role of Wolverine after this next movie is done. We all know this by now.
Mm-hmm.
The 2017 Wolverine sequel. And MTV International decided to ask Jackman who he thought would be a worthy replacement to the Claws. Who could play Wolverine after him?
Ooh.
And he said, quote, "I've been asked the question a lot. And I'm always like, I don't want to make it too easy on the studio to replace me. I've still got one more to do. I'm sure they're already talking about it. I'm sure there's already some actor who they've already said, shh, keep it quiet, but we want you next." And he's younger than me for sure. I think Tom Hardy would be great, unquote.
Really?
Yeah, his pick was the guy who played Bane in The Dark Knight Rises. Also the guy who played young Picard in one of the Next Generation films.
Okay. Didn't actually make that connection.
Yeah, and also the latest Mad Max, now that I think about it.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm on the fence about that. Hardy's got the physicality to do it, but he'd have to really bring it as an actor. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because unfortunately for him, he'd have to retread the shoes that Hugh Jackman has already worn down to the bones.
Yeah, I can't really see him. Okay, granted, I can only think of him in as Bane. I don't think I've seen or remember anything else he's been in.
Inception.
Maybe that's what he should do. You know, if they offer him the claws, he puts on the jacket, he gets, they put on a mullet wig, he gets lamb chops stapled on. And his first scene, he's looking at Patrick Stewart and he says, "Mr. Xavier."
Perfect.
"When Sunfire has burned down the last Sentinel, then you have my permission to die." I don't know. I'm just playing around. We'll move on into DC media news. And first up is a most vocal Aquaman, Jason Momoa, has decided to reveal a detail about his costume in the movie. Jason Momoa, as we all know, is playing Aquaman. He's playing the fish talker. And his quote was very simple, but maybe it adds a little bit of pathos as to what he's dealing with. It says, quote, "Well, there might be some bit of orange and green, a bit of respect to prior work, but I think he's meaner now and upset. Look at what's been done to our oceans. That's his world that's been polluted," unquote.
Makes sense.
Interesting idea, although I still think about the outfit they gave him for this movie, supposedly, and it still looks kind of odd to me. If it was just the armor, maybe that would be something, but the weird tattoos they added to it, I don't know. I'm on the fence. I need to see what this looks like on film. Something I'm not on the fence about in regards to the Suicide Squad film coming August of next year. Jared Leto was recently quizzed by The National about his role as the Joker in the movie. And he said at Music Week Dubai, quote, "I can't wait for you to see this. They're going to lock me away in a box after this movie comes out," unquote.
Bury it in Mexico.
New Mexico, yeah.
That's a strong possibility considering all the talk that's been made about just the general look of the character going into this. And we've discussed there's a fan theory going on right now that this may not be actually the Joker. This may be a corrupted Jason Todd who thinks he's the Joker now. Not sure how I feel about that either.
I find it strangely believable.
It's plausible, but it's still just the weird expressions he's putting on his face for this. I don't know. So instead of creating that debate all over again, we'll just move forward.
Please.
Okay. David Ramsey has opened up regarding his costume change in the Arrow TV show. David Ramsey is the one who plays John Diggle. He's gotten that new paramilitary outfit with that bizarre biker helmet. And he told TV Guide, quote, "I like it. I know there's a lot of criticism that it looks like Magneto's helmet, but by the time you see Diggle in action, we also get into what the helmet can do. You won't be thinking of the X-Men at all. There's a very cool gun, too. The gun and the helmet, by the way, are Star Labs creations," unquote. Just because the helmet can do, yeah, just because the helmet can do fancy shit doesn't mean we'll stop thinking X-Men. It just means we'll start thinking Judge Dredd. So I'm not sure that helps. You know, or he could be that bizarre like bike cop show from the 90s, the one where it was like near future stuff. I can't remember the name of it. I think it might have been something stupid like Cyber Cop or something like that. There's new Legends of Tomorrow casting reveals regarding the connection between Vandal Savage and the Hawks, Hawkman and Hawkwoman. They're casting for a Professor Aldous Boardman, according to Comic Book. He's being played by Peter Francis James, and the character is going to debut in an episode of Arrow later this year before moving over to Legends of Tomorrow. Now, this Dr. Boardman, which, oh my god, every time I say that name, I keep thinking of a bunch of stuffed shirts in like a 1920s movie.
Yeah.
Boardman is described as the team's only hope of finding Vandal Savage, and is brought to the team's ranks when they learn of a secret he's hiding. A guy named Dr. Boardman hiding secrets? Who freaking knew, right?
Right.
And besides which, if he's got connections to Vandal Savage, he's already got at least one secret. That shouldn't be news. In regards to Arrow, there is a Season 4 trailer that's out right now. The new season of Arrow debuts next week on October 7th. Do you want it?
Sure.
Nah. Okay.
You want it? Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've never watched the show, really.
Neither have I. Sometimes good stuff can come out. You never know. But I did send the video. And it starts loud.
Yeah, it does.
You brought madness into all our lives, and the monster you were inspired.
Oh yeah, the guy with the arrows brought madness.
I suggest you
go figure. Couldn't have been the guy that was throwing sharpened boomerangs, could it?
Never descend into hopelessness. I am declaring my intention.
Is it just me, or does Team Arrow now have more estrogen than it has testosterone?
Season premiere Wednesday, October 7th on the CW.
Dare to defy. Is that the tagline they're going with now?
No, that's WB.
You mean CW?
Yeah, CW. There we go. Whatever.
Oh, okay. All right. And we also have a look at the new Firestorm for Legends of Tomorrow, and we were half right about it. Turns out, yeah, Robbie Armell is not playing Firestorm in Legends of Tomorrow. It turns out that the character of Jay Jackson, played by an actor we talked about a while ago, Franz Drama, he's the new co-host of the Firestorm entity. We talked about him. He was a black actor playing an unknown character who was being called a mechanic and had some kind of weird connection to the Star Labs people. Turns out he is going to be the face of the new Firestorm entity. So Professor Stein's going to be backing him up with knowledge while he's the physical part of it. Take a look. The outfit is not really an outfit. It's still that bizarre cosmic detangler just kind of stapled to whatever clothes he happens to be wearing. I hope they come up with something this guy can wear, because as much as you can... If it follows the comics and he has the power to rearrange atoms and therefore rearrange matter, I understand that offers a lot of protection. However, it'd still be nice to wear something that, I don't know, it doesn't allow you to be shot in the head. So, just a personal standpoint. You know, they can go with that way or they can go this way. I would just think that he deserves at least a little body armor. Now, I have two pieces of news about the TV show of Gotham. First up, they've announced that Season 2 is going to have the introduction of the comic book character, the Flamingo.
The Flamingo.
What the hell is that?
What?
Yeah, the Flamingo is, according to Newsarama, a flamboyant hitman who wields a spiked chain who eats the faces of his victims.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, there's a candidate for Arkham.
Okay, now that I've described that, I'm going to send you an image of what the flamingo looks like because I've seen this character around before. I did not know he was that morbid. And frankly, I wouldn't get that from this because the image of the flamingo in the comics reminds me a lot of George Hamilton in Zorro the Gay Blade.
Whoa.
So that just makes all this even weirder. The character is going to be played by Raul Castillo. He's being cast as the character known as Eduardo Flamingo. Wow, that's completely freaked up now that I know about that. However, there may be a problem if they actually get into season 3 of the show.
What's that?
Leslie Tompkins is having a baby.
Who's that?
Leslie Tompkins is the character of the nurse, the one who's been enamored with James Gordon towards the end of the first season.
Oh, okay.
Not a nurse. She's now the medical examiner of the Gotham PD. And the details on that is the fact that Ben McKenzie, who plays Jim Gordon, and Morena Baccarin, who plays Leslie Tompkins, are actually in an off-screen romance together. As a result of working together on the set, they now have a relationship. And because of that relationship, there is now a bat bun in the oven.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Would not. But it kind of complicates things a little bit, wouldn't you say?
Just a little bit.
If there's a shooting schedule to keep, suddenly you might find out that Morena Baccarin is only being filmed from the boobs up.
Unless they write her in pregnant.
Well, I've actually seen the first 2 episodes of this latest season of Gotham.
As have I.
The second episode is a huge improvement. A massive improvement. The only problem is, though, the second episode kind of goes back to the main complaint we had about the show in general. The second episode focused almost entirely on the goals of the villains doing whatever they do, trying to gain a foothold in Gotham. That's what kind of made it entertaining. It had very little Ben McKenzie or, Bruce Wayne or Alfred in it. It helped tremendously. And it looks like it looks like it could be the possibility of a gang war starting because it's the character of Jerome, the proto-Joker, leading a small group of Arkham inmates brought out by the serial killer brother and sister that we talked about before. But one thing they haven't really touched on is how this mayhem they're causing across the city is going to affect the actual organized crime, which is currently being run by Oswald Cobblepot, who has a new lieutenant in his care, a young Selina Kyle. You can kind of see where this is leading.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't touched on that question at all, and I'm sure a lot of people haven't asked that question, but as soon as that second episode finished, I'm like, what does the Penguin think about all this? Oh well, I'm probably overthinking it again.
I guess I'll give it a shot.
Well, we'll move on to general media news. We'll talk about the nerdy properties that don't have to do with Marvel and DC on the TV screens and on the movies. There is a new rumor going around about the latest filming of Game of Thrones. And apparently it could be a big spoiler for what's going to happen in the books. We've talked before that the Game of Thrones cast has been filming at the Castillos de Zarfa in Guadalajara. It's been rumored to be standing in as the Tower of Joy, which has been heard of in several of the books that George R. R. Martin has put out from A Song of Fire and Ice. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be the location that Ned Stark's sister Lyanna was kept by Rhaegar Targaryen before her death.
Right.
Recent speculation has pegged scenes shot at the Castillo to be a flashback in the vein of young Cersei. In the previous season, I think that began with a flashback as to the young life of Cersei Lannister visiting a supposed witch. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like there is going to be a long flashback scene filmed here. It's not going to be current stuff, it will be flashback, which is leading to even more speculation that Lyanna Stark may be the one who gave birth to a young Jon Snow.
Yeah, I still think that's most likely. There's so many clues that have been dropped in the book, especially, maybe not so much in the show. There's
also potential word that these scenes will not be a flashback so much as visions that Jon Snow is having of his own past. Because while Kit Harington was shown bleeding out in the snow at the end of the last season, Kit Harington has been seen on set in costume, but he hasn't been seen in Raven's dress. You know, the dress of House Black and the Watchers on the Wall. Some of the scenes he's recently been filming have been in leather armor with the Stark family symbol on it.
Interesting. Huh.
So it appears that things are moving forward, at least as far as that show goes. Okay. How would you like it if David Tennant started playing the 10th Doctor again?
Awesome.
I would love it so much.
There's that sound again.
Yeah.
Okay. How would you like it if David Tennant started playing the 10th Doctor again and the young lady who played Donna Noble was reprising her role with him?
I kind of liked Donna, so
I liked
that
her
would be
too.
fine.
Yeah, I could go with it.
Okay. Well, you're going to both like and probably dislike this piece of news. David Tennant and Catherine Tate have been signed to play the roles of the 10th Doctor and Donna Noble for Big Finish. Big Finish has been putting out, I guess you could say, side stories of Doctor Who episodes in audio. Think of them as audio tales of the Doctor's continuing adventures, which has been known to happen in BBC Radio.
It's intriguing.
Okay. It was announced the company did secure the rights to produce audio adventures featuring new series characters too, including Kate Lethbridge-Stewart, River Song, Strax, The Weeping Angels, Torchwood, and etc. But now they have David Tennant and Catherine Tate to come back and reprise their roles for continuing audio adventures.
Cool.
There's no word as to when their first adventures will come out, but since it was just signed, I imagine they need to actually get them in the studio for a little bit.
Yeah, probably. And honestly, having him do voice acting work, that works just fine.
I would say so. V.
Yes.
Star Trek Beyond. We have found out through various statements that Idris Elba is playing the villain in this movie.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
Idris.
interesting.
They still have not named what this villain is, but Idris Elba did drop some hints about what his role is going to be about. He said, quote, "Simon Pegg and the team have written a very interesting, complex journey for my character. You've never seen me play a character like this. I think Star Trek has prided themselves as being quite classic when it comes to villains. Like, he's a guy who wants to end the world. There's no doubt about that. But in this version of the film, there's a slightly different twist to that. It's quite an interesting journey, which I think is groundbreaking for the franchise, but it still keeps the classic bad guy is a classic bad guy tone," unquote.
I'm kind of curious about it.
I wonder about that because when James Bond made that kind of shift, you know, the villains didn't want to rule the world anymore. They often wanted to either create a war so that they could profiteer from it, or they wanted to control just one aspect of people's lives and control things quietly. I wonder if this is that same kind of movement. But the movie Star Trek Beyond is still scheduled to hit theaters July 8th, 2016. Not long before next year's Comic-Con.
Yep.
My God, we may keep a multiplex busy next July. Next up, IO9. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Next up, Toy Box. Toy Box decided to put up an article about a new Captain Phasma figure. This one is being produced by Bandai Namco. Would you like to... I'm going to send you guys the link so you can take a look at all the photos at once. Holy shit, Bandai's been known for awesome figures before, but they really brought this one to life. Take a look at Captain Phasma, Gwendolyn Christie, as the new Star Wars The Force Awakens villain.
Ooh.
That is very nice ornate armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's attractive.
Yeah, they even kept the cape on it too, and it looks like it has decent amount of motion in that shoulder as well. It's a good build.
Yep.
Especially like the middle image where they stacked it up with a couple other troopers just for comparison.
Yeah.
I don't know about the chrome-plated blaster, though. There's something about that is extremely 70s.
What's wrong with that?
That's a personal standpoint, you know. But that's not the only Stormtrooper coming out in the near future. For the Tamashii Nation 2015 event, it's happening October 30th to November 1st. They're offering a Figuarts Shadow Trooper, a black Shadow Trooper. It's going to be on sale for only $38 US or 4,500 yen. There's a preview photo available of what it looks like, but it's kind of hard to tell a bunch from this one. I believe there was a full gallery release after this, but I guess I didn't update my own files in time.
More similar to the
Pilots.
The pilots, yeah.
Well, it's closer to the original 1970s designs. The Shadow Troopers came from the expanded universe before, Disney bought up LucasArts and streamlined the whole thing and said, okay, we're going to create an actual continuity.
I can't say I'm thrilled with this design.
Well, it's just a black stormtrooper. It's really not that much to say. It's a stormtrooper with black armor. And last up in general media news, do you realize that the 30th anniversary of Back to the Future is coming soon?
Really?
Yeah?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right.
The movie was created in 1985. But not only that, the anniversary edition is coming out on a very special date. October 21st, 2015. Do you know why that date is special?
Isn't that the date from the movie?
That's the date from the second movie where they went to the future with the flying cars and stuff.
Right.
We are approaching the date that Doc Brown visited in the second film with Marty McFly.
Nice.
And we still don't have our flying cars or our auto-lace Nikes.
Not only...
No, I think we have Autolace Nikes now.
Autolace Nikes were... the prototypes came out last year.
Ah, okay.
And the hoverboard prototypes came out this year. There is a 45-second video that goes with this announcement. It's Christopher Lloyd actually reprising his role as Doc Brown.
Shoot.
Really? I didn't know he was still alive.
Yeah, it's a teaser for a new short film that they're producing. It's called Back to the Future, Doc Brown Saves the World.
Ready?
Yeah, I sent the video. October 21st, 2015. You can hear the DeLorean. Oh, there it is. There is the classic DeLorean. And there's a Mr. Fusion on it.
Mm-hmm.
God, that music brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah.
I love the music.
There he is. He looks a little surprised.
Somehow he doesn't look that much older.
Not terribly. It's probably the white hair. However, you could kind of hear he's doing that thing old people do when they slur their S's a little.
Yep.
I give him credit, though. He still has the same expressions he had from the original films of just complete astonishment. Maybe now that astonishment is that somebody blended his steak. I know, it's a bad joke, but hey, it was right there. Okay, now we have Marvel comic news. We talk about the Marvel properties that do end up on their own pages. And there's more news about what's coming out in the new Spider-Man 2099 series, post-Secret Wars. As we know, Miguel O'Hara is apparently working for Parker Industries, but he has a time portal that seems to allow him to jump back and forth between 2099 and the present day.
Convenient.
Yeah, he's still trying to figure out how he fits in this world of modern Spider-Men since there's so many of them. He apparently feels he doesn't need to wear a costume. There are CGI models that are being used in this comic, apparently.
Really?
The series artist, Will Sliney, S-L-I-N-E-Y, Sliney, says that scenes he drew in Spider-Man 2099 #1 had CGI models of the environment to better illustrate the scene. So it sounds like they're really going all out behind this. And part of the CG models are for 2099's newest sport, Ninja USA. Want to guess what that's like? No, that's not what it's like. It's supposed to be a takeoff of the American. It's supposed to be a takeoff of the American Ninja Warrior TV show. It's not a terrible idea. It's not like it isn't pertinent to today's era. I think there's more American Ninja Warrior shows per season than there are the original ones these days.
I think it's probably because there's more Americans than there are Japanese. I don't know.
Well, we already know that. The question is whether or not where we were born from. And Marvel has announced via comicbook.com that Jeff Lemire and Greg Smallwood are going to launch a new Moon Knight series in 2016 as well.
Moon Knight?
Yeah, Moon Knight is kind of an interesting tale. Think of him as the ultimate Batman ripoff that somehow took a life of its own.
Because
He started out as a mercenary named Mark Spector, who had a decent amount of trust fund money. Okay, and he decided to try to turn around his life, so he became the Moon Knight. Well, no, actually, first he was trapped in the Middle East during a mission, and he ended up coming in contact with an Egyptian god called Khonshu, the god of the moon, who took Mark Spector as his avatar. So he was supposed to run around as the Moon Knight, the avatar of Khonshu, who was trying to kind of right the wrongs in the world. Recent retellings have that not only does Mark Spector have a split personality, he's completely schizophrenic, but also he's now not entirely sure whether Khonshu is real or just a construction of his own mind. And that was in latter volumes of the Moon Knight. The latest one coming out next year has Mark Spector in a place he's never been before. A goddamn mental hospital. According to the writer Jeff Lemire, quote, Mark is in a place I don't think we've seen him before. He's being told one thing, but he's starting to believe another. That's all I want to say at this point, unquote. The writer kind of expanded on that statement a little bit, quote, the opportunity to write Moon Knight offered me the chance to explore themes of identity and mental illness. That's something that hasn't been done a lot in superhero comics, at least not in a significant way. I've dealt with mental illness in my own life, certainly not to the extreme that Mark Spector has, but it's something I know intimately. Now, having said that, I don't want people to think this comic book is just going to be a preachy polemic about the issue of mental health. It's very much filled with big, crazy, bombastic superheroes and concepts. It's got humor and heart and horror. But I think we can use these things as a metaphor to address bigger issues as well, unquote. I want to know how they're going to follow that up, because the last volume of Moon Knight, with him just walking around in that white-on-white suit, just wearing the mask and the gloves, that was weird as all hell. We discussed that a little bit. When a guy comes at you in a costume, you think, okay, he's a little bit crazy, I might fight this. When you just have this guy casually walking up to you that's wearing a mask in a white-on-white tuxedo, that guy's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Speaking of new ongoings, after next year, the Silver Surfer's getting a new ongoing series as well.
Is he a good guy or a bad guy?
Kind of depends on who you ask.
Depends, yeah.
It's going to be done by Dan Slott and Mike Allred. They're resuming their run on it. They were the ones doing the run up until the Secret Wars. The Silver Surfer V. Oh God.
We're gonna do another rant.
No, we're not going on a rant. It's not that complicated, but it does get a little deep. The guy's name is Norrin Rad. He was an alien from another planet. I can't remember what the name of that planet was. But basically, one day, a gigantic entity came to devour his planet. That entity was known as Galactus.
Oh, yeah. I remember we read something about that before.
Okay, Galactus was in the Annihilation. We read that book. Okay, somehow Norrin Rad got the attention of this thing that was getting ready to eat his planet and made him a deal. The deal was Galactus will leave his planet alone. In exchange, Norrin Rad will go out and find other planets for him to devour with the hope of finding uninhabited planets for him to do this job with. So Galactus shared a very small portion of his power with with Norrin Rad, who became the Silver Surfer. That small amount of power gives the Silver Surfer limited control over gravity, energy, cosmic rays, molecular control. He can do a wide range of shit that makes him one of the more powerful characters in the Marvel Universe just from this one little bit of power.
Let's just say he could just bitch slap the Hulk in this.
He tried that. It didn't go well. The Silver Surfer and the Hulk fought each other in Planet Hulk, and the Silver Surfer was on the defensive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That many people go toe-to-toe with the Hulk like that, though.
The Surfer's always had kind of problems with the Hulk because in addition to being super strong, the Hulk always has this kind of gamma haze about his body that's kind of difficult for his powers to cut through. The radiation warps his abilities a bit too far. I know that's not a character you guys really cared about as far as the Surfer. This was news that kind of caught me sideways this week. One of Marvel's longest-standing characters since the 1970s is getting their own book for the first time ever.
Who?
In 2016, The Mockingbird is getting an ongoing.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, she is.
Because of
Agents of
It's-
S.H.I.E.L.D. It would probably have to be. The character has been in team books. The character has been in anthology books where they've had temporary spotlights. But she's never had her own ongoing book before. But in news that may mean more to V, the Mockingbird ongoing is being written by a novelist known as Chelsea Kane.
I'm not familiar with that name.
Neither am I. I was hoping you might know more than we do. They actually, Newsarama actually talked to her for a few minutes about what she plans to do with the book, and she said, quote, "Bobby is funny. Her rapport with Hawkeye and Hunter on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., for that matter, has always been at the core of their chemistry. She knows her way around a one-liner, so it was important for me to show her being clever, witty, and thinking on her feet, while being menaced and kicking ass. Honestly, the cool thing about writing Mockingbird is that she's never had her own story before. She's only appeared in other people's books, so we have no idea who she is, really. We might have gotten the odd interior narration, but nothing that really informs any deep character development," unquote. As a result of doing this story, Newsarama did also elaborate on one other thing going on for the Mockingbird as of late. The character will have her own book, but also in Amazing Spider-Man, she's been signed as one of Peter Parker's bodyguards in the book.
Oh, right, that's right. She was riding with him in the
In the Spider Buggy
Bubble,
test.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's not just a security consultant, she's been hired as one of his bodyguards. There is no artist yet attached to this book. There's also no release date yet other than 2016. I have a feeling that's one we're all going to be looking at sooner or later.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's another new book coming out post-Secret Wars going on sale October 28th, and this was not one I was looking for, but all of a sudden I'm a little curious about. The Howling Commandos of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, really?
Yep, S.H.I.E.L.D. is getting a team of monsters doing their to do their unbelievable missions for them. But more interesting is that they didn't list a roster in this book. However, Newsarama got their hands on a variant cover, and it gets even weirder than I thought it would. This team of monsters is being led by legendary soldier Dum Dum Dugan, which in and of itself makes it sound even more dangerous than it already was. But it appears that in addition to some of the members of this team that I can't recognize, including a vampire and some kind of creature from the Black Lagoon style thing, the ones I can identify from this team are Jack Russell, the Werewolf by Night, Kid Abomination, who recently came out of the Superior Iron Man comics, Man-Thing, the master of the Nexus of All Realities, and rounding out this crew of monstrous teammates, the Hit Monkey.
Hit Monkey?
Really?
Yes, the Hit Monkey. The Hit Monkey debuted in Deadpool comics as of about 2 or 3 years ago. It is a gibbon monkey in China who ran afoul of a hitman. And the hitman was hiding out in his territory with the tribe of this gibbon's people, more or less. The assassin was chased by soldiers who raised the whole jungle looking for him, including shooting up the hitman and a group of gibbon monkeys. This monkey felt such sorrow what happened, although it watched enough of what happened between the humans, it picked up the assassin's bullets and shot the soldiers. Or not the assassin's bullets, it picked up the assassin's guns and shot the soldiers. Since then, it does its best to fight inequality as an assassin for hire.
Interesting.
And one of the things it decided to try and hunt down because it was creating too much havoc, Deadpool. Now, let me put it to you this way. Hit Monkey, as soon as Deadpool learned this thing was after it, he wanted help. Does that tell you anything?
Who wanted help? Deadpool or the monkey?
Deadpool.
Deadpool wanted help because Hit Monkey has a 100% success ratio. He does not give up, and he's fracking relentless, and he can fire up to 3 guns at a time if he picks up one with his foot.
What? You can... How?
The monkey can shoot with his feet. Well, remember, monkey feet are hands, complete with opposable thumbs.
Okay.
So there's that. Another new ongoing as a result of the Secret Wars and successful sales from one of the spin-offs. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm saying this. In 2016, the stories of the X-Men of 1992 is going to be continued.
Really?
Yeah, one of the Secret Wars spin-off was X-Men 92, which was the story of the animated team of X-Men. Turns out that's been a decent seller, and those stories will continue post-Secret Wars.
Huh.
Not only that, there was a hint in one of the solicitations that members of different teams of that era may show up. Members of Generation X may show up in that book. Steve would probably know that better than everybody else besides myself. That was the X-Men's teen book at the time, the replacement for the New Mutants.
Right.
And thanks to what the publisher is calling overwhelming support from fans, it will be a new ongoing in 2016, bringing back more characters from the 90s with it.
Wow.
Maybe we should get Jimmy to read that.
Why? Does he only read things from the 90s?
Oh, he enjoyed that series. And
Oh, okay. Well, that's not the only return coming in 2016. There's a new miniseries coming called The Infinity Entity. And that book by Jim Starlin is going to be starring a master of Marvel's cosmic era of the 90s, Adam Warlock. The character that often fought with Thanos over the control of the Infinity Gems in the Gauntlet.
Yep.
Warlock will be the protagonist in this series, but Thanos will be in it as well. The writer said that the Avengers and the In-Betweener will come at odds with Warlock, as well as a mystery character Starlin describes as a major player in the mix. So Warlock versus the Avengers and the Beyonder, huh? Or the In-Betweener, I should say. That sounds like a nightmare.
I have to say that I had forgotten about that character, and he has one of the... That name is just pretty bad.
Yeah, his name is shit. It is. I don't know how else to say it. That name is shit. Last up in Marvel comic news is kind of an interesting one. The artist for the Uncanny Inhuman series released a small gallery for promo use, trying to drum up interest in the book. And part of that had to do with his new design for Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, who's in this book. This design, I have never seen anything like this for Johnny Storm. Take a look. That character's been Fantastic Four since everything started. He's always worn a 4, and this is a big departure from any of those uniforms.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm interested to know what it's going to look like when he flames up, because I've seen images. It looks like he won't be doing the full body fire thing anymore. It looks like it's going to be more selective.
Huh.
So I kind of wonder if these yellow sections are where fire may jet from the costume. That would create an interesting look. But hey, I got to give him credit. He came up with a nice design for a character that's been around forever.
Changes good.
Oh, yeah, it usually is. From there, we'll move into DC comic news, and there was something that happened last week I completely forgot about. September 26th, it turns out, is Batman Day.
Batman Day?
Yeah, the only reason I even remembered that was because I went into GameStop on Saturday after I got my rental car, just trying to blow off some steam and get out of the house for a little bit. And the clerk at GameStop reminded me, "Hey, it's Batman Day." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that." We talked comic books and video games for a little bit, and as I was leaving, he just said, "Hey, it's Batman Day." Yeah, I know. Well, do you want a comic for Batman Day? Okay. So he handed me a promo book.
Nice.
Yeah. Although there's some debate about the nature of Batman Day. There are some people saying that Batman Day is not September 26th, it's June 26th. And I wasn't sure why people were complaining about that difference, but it turns out they may have a pretty good reason for that. Do you know what the date of June 26th means to Batman?
Day his parents died?
That is the day his parents were shot.
Well, I believe they died the same day.
Potato. But at the same time, though, that does make an important difference as to what day this should be celebrated on. It turns out that date was actually named for the first time in Batman Special Number 1. Prior to then, there was no exact date as to when the Waynes were shot and when Batman was created and when, shit started to go really weird for that particular character. Bruce Wayne probably would have been a pretty happy kid, except somebody shot my parents.
Yeah. That tends to put a damper on things.
Yeah. Wonder Woman may be losing her digital series, Sensation Comics, but she's getting a new feature in Wonder Woman Earth 1. It's going to be a new original graphic novel by Grant Morrison and Yannick Paquette. It looks like Wonder Woman's going to be on trial for something. Oh, there will be a trial of Diana Prince in the book. She's on trial because she's in disagreement with the ways of the rest of her sisters on Themyscira Island in Earth 1, as well as its queen, her mother. It looks like she wants the island to get more involved in the world of man, whereas Themyscira is pretty much a hands-off policy in this world. I sent the image for you guys to view. The art style is very Dodson-esque. It reminds me of Terry Dodson's work. However, as nice as the artwork is, you can almost imagine someone walking by this and going, "That's misogynistic. Why is she in chains?"
The focus on the cleavage and everything doesn't help either, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, you know, this, as you can see, this design also does not have pants. That is a weird unwritten rule that really needs to be changed.
It looks like the bird on her chest is getting ready to motorboat.
It's not motorboating. It's the robot chicken going, "No, don't stare here. Stop looking." That thing is definitely working to hold that bodice together. There's also a gallery on Newsarama of 14 Dark Knight 3 Master Race variant covers. The Dark Knight 3 is a follow-up to The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises graphic novels telling the future of the Batman. The book debuts on November 25th. I sent you guys the gallery so you can take a look. There is all kinds of weird variants here. That one of him strangling the shit out of a sewer mutant is a little weird. The painted one right next to it of him and I guess it's supposed to be
Croc.
No, that's a mutant. In the far-flung future of the Dark Knight, he's fighting mutants.
Oh.
The one after that, though, I'm having a little bit of trouble with because it looks like a kid Wonder Woman in front of Batman.
Yeah.
However, her belt has an Aquaman symbol on it.
You're right.
Weird.
I mean, that may not be an Aquaman symbol. That may just be an A, but at the same time, that's very reminiscent of Aquaman. What? I don't know what character this is supposed to be.
Aqualass?
No. No, Aqualass did not carry the golden lasso of truth.
There's an Aqualass?
Shortly, yes, she died.
I don't see that anywhere. Oh, there it is. Oh.
It's definitely a Wonder Woman of some sort. I'm at a loss. The following image is of Batman and the Carrie Kelly Robin. And there's one of Batman on a clothesline, apparently thinking really hard about what that light in the sky means. Another one of Carrie Kelly and Batman fighting people. Batman jumping off a gargoyle. Batman trying to drown another mutant.
This art is really good, for the most part.
Well, these are all variant covers. This
With
isn't
visors oddly
the interior.
similar to Cyclops.
Yeah. What about the next one, where Batman is apparently fighting sewer mutants, and he saw something that really turned him on, and his nose bled?
Okay.
Why do some of those sewer mutants have, like, Batman symbols on their faces?
I am not entirely sure. That's a little weird.
Because after the second one, the mutants kind of became his gang.
Huh. Couple more. Okay, that Batman Dark Knight 3 variant with the Joker on the floor and the blood in the shape of a bat that says your logo here, that's kind of cute. Interesting imagery. Still not sure.
Not too many.
Yeah. But DC is taking an interesting road with its current Dr. Fate. They're starting a new DC series about a young Egyptian-American hero, the latest one to pick up the Dr. Fate helmet. And as of Dr. Fate number 7, coming out this December, they're killing him.
Okay.
Now, they're not folding up his body and putting it in a refrigerator. It turns out that they're purposefully doing this. Anubis is going to carry his body and soul into the afterlife, and the next few issues are the story of this new Dr. Fate trying to fight his way out of the Egyptian afterlife. He's going to have a journey through Egyptian mythology.
That'd be interesting.
That could be a really interesting book. But the that was a nice twist. This was a twist that I did not expect. DC just changed the story of the Spectre. Who knows what the Spectre is?
Was that the one that could get like the strength of the bear and the?
No.
No, you're thinking about Bravestar with that one.
No, he's thinking of the Phantom.
Yes, that's one.
Oh, isn't that like the DC's version of the Watcher?
No, that was the Oracle we saw in Convergence.
Oh, okay.
The Spectre is DC's spirit of vengeance. It is this ghostly apparition that's often said to be an angel that usually inhabits other characters' bodies up until the Flashpoint change happened and the New 52 came about. And then they rewrote it so that there's only been one Spectre. The original Spectre, who was connected to a detective. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
This detective is a guy named Corrigan. Jim Corrigan. As of Gotham by Midnight #9, what we found out is that the Spectre, who's often believed to be an angel, doing the work of God punishing the wicked.
Yeah.
Jim Corrigan had a conversation with the Spectre because he was being questioned in a couple recent murders. It turns out it's kind of difficult as a modern detective to keep, your angelic self that's killing people kind of a secret when everything you're investigating keeps dying.
I could see that.
Okay, here's the thing. While he was being interrogated by 2 other detectives, the Spectre reached out of his body, lashed out, and killed the other 2 detectives. Not because they were evil, but because they were getting dangerously close to uncovering him. So that led Corrigan to ask this apparition coming out of his body, what the fuck? What are you doing? It turns out that he found out the Spectre is not an angel. It's an apparition of his own fucking subconscious with an expenditure of power coming from his own body. The Spectre is his own dark id and thirst for vengeance.
Okay.
That's interesting.
He asked in a panel. They were just cops doing their jobs. They didn't understand. God wanted this, and the Spectre looked out from underneath his hood and said, "You wanted it. It is you. It was always you." So it turns out the Spectre is not an angelic creature of divine judgment. It's fucking
was
crazy.
Just him passing judgment.
Yep.
Okay, Judge Dredd.
No, that's a nice twist, though. I mean, that's almost Sentry-esque, frankly. He's got this other persona that murders things because somewhere deep down, that's what he wants to do. So the Spectre is no longer divine judgment. It's just another killer. I think that's a nice twist.
Mm.
I haven't even been, part of that.
Yeah, it's too bad. I think Gotham by Midnight is one of the books being canceled soon. Last up, DC Entertainment has announced the next wave of titles will be released as original DVD and graphic novel combo packs. Upcoming releases are Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, Superman: Batman: Public Enemies, and Justice League Throne of Atlantis. They're all being released as DVD and graphic novel combination packs. They'll all be released in 2016. There were no specific dates given with the release, though. That could be one way to... What?
I'm pretty sure that Throne of Atlantis is going to probably be a lot better than the anime piece of shit they put out.
I have no idea. It depends on whether or not the graphic novel is actually based on the animated stuff or whether or not it's the original stories and then here's the animated version, I have no idea which is which. Next, we have general comic book news. We talk about comic book news that do not fall into Marvel and DC pantheons, as well as convention news. And first up is interesting news I didn't expect, and news that V is probably going to strangle the shit out of me for.
Uh-oh.
Stan Lee's Kamikaze is happening this October 30th to November 1st. And they announced just last week that William Shatner just became a guest of honor for the convention. Okay, I'm used to hearing squeaks of joy. I'm not used to hearing sounds that's like she's going to reach through my microphone and just beat the shit out of me.
Don't lie, you are.
No, it was an unexpected announcement. Apparently he's got some new project he's going to talk about on the stage, and you know that as soon as he gets up there, he's going to get Star Trek questions too.
Of course.
They haven't released a formal schedule, although, I mean, it's William Shatner. How could you not have him in the main stage? That actually wasn't the only announcement this week. They also announced that Casper Van Dien is coming, the star from Starship Troopers. And I think he was also in that Power Rangers fan film that came out late or early this year.
Yeah.
And Rob Liefeld was just announced as a guest of honor, too, the creator of Cable and Deadpool.
Cool.
He's coming as well. So they are really racking it up this year. I kind of got an odd response when I retweeted their announcement team of William Shatner, and all I put on it was set phasers for fun. Hey, even I didn't expect that to get as much traction as it got, okay? Also, when it comes to general comic and convention news, there is a big announcement expected at this year's New York Comic Con, which I believe is happening on October 10th, in regards to Batman. There are no specifics as to what's going on. We just know that on October 10th, during the convention, there will be a big announcement regarding Batman. And it's occurring at 1:45 p.m. in one of the large rooms. It's very likely to happen during the panel has been announced, Batman, the Bat Universe. So if you're a fan of the Cape and Cowl, that's where you're going to want to be.
Hmm.
You guys know who Morgan Lofting is?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
Morgan Lofting is the voice actress who played the role in 1984 on G.I. Joe of the Baroness.
Hmm.
Okay.
It turns out she was at a convention I wasn't aware of. She was in Meadowvale Mississauga Hotel for the Action Figure Expo in Mississauga, Ontario. She actually got to do a Q&A and panel, as well as a signing. God, that's got to be a one-of-a-kind thing you can get. I've barely heard of her getting out to do any conventions. If anybody knows how the Action Figure Expo went, I would like to know. I've often heard about it as a good place to catch up on toy news, but they've never come anywhere close to an area I could travel to. When it comes to comic book news, Mark Miller is kind of a notorious creator among comic book fans. Mark Miller is the guy responsible for the creation of Kick-Ass, Nemesis, and several other books, independent books. He's launching a talent search from September 28th to November 30th of this year. According to the creator himself, quote, there seems to be a real disconnect between genuinely talented and skilled students at schools, colleges, and universities getting into the comic book industry. I want to provide a platform to enable these creative people to showcase their talents and, most importantly, to get published and paid, unquote. Artists and writers are being invited to upload a sample of their work to the Miller World website, and a short list of 6 writers and 6 artists will be selected and partnered up with Miller World. The selected creators will be allowed to work on specific Miller World characters and paid the Marvel and DC starter rates.
Oh.
I'd say that's a good way to get into comics.
Yeah.
Frack, man. I wish I had more talent. And last up in general comic news, what do you guys think? We know that a lot of properties are hitting TV these days, right? You got Gotham, you've got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you got Daredevil, The Walking Dead. You know, lots of comic book properties are being turned into TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think those TV shows translate into dollars for the comic books?
Probably. I would
Yes.
say drive sales. At least some. We've seen a lot of new things come out.
It doesn't get people
Some-
interested
Okay.
with the source
Well-
material.
Okay. Well, Newsarama decided to ask the question directly of retailers, comic book owners. Do TV shows create sales? And according to Brett Park, who's the owner of Salesfish Comics in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, quote, yes, of course. Whenever The Walking Dead returns to air, even 5 years in, sales take a spike, unquote.
Nice. I
According
wasn't
to
sure.
According to Charlie Harris of Charlie's Comic Books in Tucson, Arizona, quote, every time a new season of The Walking Dead starts, I tend to pick up a few new followers of the comics and the novels. It shows the most growth as a TV tie-in, keeping the title in the top 5 selling titles, unquote.
Wow.
Let me see. Now, according to Adam Casey, who's a manager at Salesfish, quote, oftentimes people who enjoy the superhero shows will come in and buy an issue and are somewhat befuddled that there are more issues to buy later, unquote. Wait, this keeps going?
There used
Was
to
it the one shot?
books,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, imagine it's like an episode.
According to Park, quote, Arrow and Flash have brought in new customers, or lapsed readers in some cases, and DC was kind enough to have books for us to sell to them, such as Flash Season 0 and Arrow Season 2.5. I've had some luck converting buyers to the digital first titles to Green Arrow and Flash New 52 trade paperback buys. When that happens, I feel successful. When someone says the comics are better than the shows, I feel validated, unquote.
I can see that.
Sales of iZombie trades have also gone up as well. That's another comic book property.
I didn't know that was a comic.
Oh yeah, that's I think that's originally I think it was a
DC?
Vertigo book, but now it's DC proper.
Huh.
Other retailers agree that the CW shows have been particularly successful in piquing the interest in new buyers. Several store owners were befuddled that there weren't the same attraction with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Quote, we've had less response to S.H.I.E.L.D., although the comic book series is more closely related to the program than to the comic book continuity. And maybe that's the problem. As big as Marvel movies are, I can't think of anyone who's come in asking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as a comic book, unquote.
I didn't even realize that they had a comic of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
The comic book of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. only started in the last year as a result of the Season 2 success. Before then, there wasn't a comic. If you remember, S.H.I.E.L.D. is... there have been S.H.I.E.L.D. comic books, but it mostly had to do with the original Nick Fury.
Right.
Since a modern era of Marvel, S.H.I.E.L.D. has been in a lot of Avengers books, but they haven't featured their own.
Right.
And the other problem may be in the fact that just with this new S.H.I.E.L.D. comic that came out in the last year, that's when characters like Melinda May, Agent Fitz, and Agent Simmons became regulars in Marvel Comics. They weren't in there before.
Right.
I mean, Agent Coulson, I think, was only introduced in Marvel Comics back in 2011.
Yeah, after his introduction into the movies.
The
Even then,
Avenger-
it took him a little bit.
It did take him a little bit because they wrote him into a story where they introduced the new Nick Fury Jr., which became the regular Nick Fury, the Black Nick Fury.
Right.
So, you know, it may just be the fact that these characters are still relatively new in Marvel Comics. They haven't really branched out yet. All right, anime in Japan news. We like to talk about anime because we are anime fans, even though we kind of disagree with calling Japanese cartoons specifically anime. But, oh, God, that's a whole different kettle of fish, and I don't want to get into it right now. Variety is reporting that one of the actors of Paper Towns, Nat Wolff, is in final negotiations to play the lead in an American adaptation film of fucking Death Note. Wolf would be penciled in to play Light Yagami, a student who finds a magical notebook which gives him the ability to kill anyone just by writing their name down in the notebook.
I've actually
As
seen
well
that
as-
believe it or not.
As well as how they die if he so chooses.
Yes.
Otherwise, they just die of a heart attack.
You know, it's one of those things where I'm on the fence every time I hear about a Hollywood adaptation about any kind of Japanese cultural item, because the two societies are so different that trying to translate one into the other generally does not go well.
Yeah, the culture is vastly different.
Yeah. You know, American culture is based on a history of frontierism, exploration, and fundamentalism, whereas Japan's history is more or less founded on
Feudalism.
imperialism, feudalism, and militarism. There's just too many discrepancies. I read a book a long time ago about the history of the shogunate, and I learned a lot about the formational years of what became modern Japan, and it was really kind of astonishing to read about their concepts of community responsibility. And it's not a sense of honor, you know, I am responsible for my neighbor. It was based on an era where the ruling class, if they found you did wrong, then that punishment would be heaped on you, it would be heaped on your family, it would be heaped on your close neighbors, it would be heaped on a few people in your area who were thought to know you fairly well. So that sense of community responsibility is more or less, hey, stop fucking up.
Yeah.
Or you're going to regret it, and so is everybody else that knows you.
Yeah. There's no release date set for this film. However, filming is set to start in 2016, apparently. Oh well, we'll see if it works. Next up, holy crap, there is a trailer for the continuation of Free Starting Days.
Huh?
Free Starting Days, the continuation of the story of 4 high schoolers who have a swim club.
Oh.
Oh. Right.
The series is called High Speed Free Starting Days. It's a movie, actually, that's going to continue the stories of these kids. And there's a 30-second trailer that was released for it. I know it's not our thing in general, but, always got to at least try new stuff. Besides which, Free has a tremendous fan base. Can't ignore those people. They're pretty much every con these days, I would say.
Ready.
All right, I sent the video.
Okay.
Oh, and it starts with stirring guitar music and the images of young spring in bloom. What are you doing, Haru? It's my turn to control the Haru.
I really like the music.
Music isn't bad. It's just visually hard to take this series seriously. I mean, there's, as much as people complain, why are you always showing women's boobs and butts? I'm staring at the series going, why am I always staring at abs and chests?
It is a bit of a double stereotype right there.
A little. It's not what I'm going to make fun of because, and it's not visual. It's not victimization. It's not, what do you call it? It's not dehumanizing. It's just a matter of what turns people on the most.
Mm-hmm.
I wish some people would get a little less personal about that because some people will just focus in on what gets their motor running.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of motor running, Toyota has an interesting cross-promotion going on. Do you remember a while ago when we talked about the Toyota Aris? And it had a special Gundam-style paint job. It was made up in the image of one of the more infamous antagonists of the original Gundam, Char Aznavour. Do you recall this at all?
I don't.
It had like minor paint details that made it look like almost military grade, and it had little touch-ups, including Char Aznavour's symbol on it. Well, believe it or not, Toyota looks like it's finally ready to go in production with this, and to go with it is a commercial in old anime style of Char Aznavour driving the Toyota Aris Gundam.
Okay.
I kid you not, I watched it just because I was so curious I couldn't wait, and holy shit, the style is so throwback, it's awesome. I sent the video. Oh my god, just the sound effect is taking me back.
Oh god.
There's Char.
Big robot.
Yeah, that's the way it typically went. It's an interesting design.
Military strut.
Yeah. The A12 on the back, I remember that from the original pictures.
That actually makes me laugh. I was like, why didn't he get in? And then I see him walking around, I'm like, oh, right, Japan.
Yeah. To get around to the driver's side in Japan.
Alright.
Zeonic
Wow.
Toyota. I dug that more than I care to admit. That almost makes you want a Toyota. I guess that's the point. One of Japan's biggest visual novels is coming out in the U.S. It's come out on the PC, the Xbox 360, over a 13-year history, but it's never come out outside Japan, and that is Muv-Luv.
Oh.
There is a new Kickstarter out trying to bring the first two titles in the Muv-Luv and Muv-Luv Alternate series to Steam with an English-language release. The Kickstarter has 33 days to go. It already has 3,027 backers to produce this in the U.S. The company that's doing this, called the Muv-Luv team, is asking for $250,000. Well, it sucks to be them, because right now they're dealing with $495,731.
Wow.
Damn.
It's already happening.
I'm kind of
and
surprised that, because I've seen them do, other companies bring stuff over, so it's kind of intriguing that this is a new company bringing this specific title.
It may not be a new company, it's just under something called the Muv-Luv team. For all I know, that's a pseudonym for another company just trying to show that there's interest to buy the rights and do it.
Mm.
Remember the Bubblegum project not too long ago? Somebody was trying to put that on Blu-ray, and all they wanted was to show Animigo that they're... I think it was Animigo itself who put up the Kickstarter trying to show the original owners of the copyrights that, look, people still want the show. It wouldn't surprise me to find out this is the same thing under a pseudonym. But hey, if they can do it, power to them.
Yeah.
Was it Japanese cultural items? I don't want to say they're on the down low, but they're kind of on the wane since the rise of comic books when it comes to American pop culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd say comic books have definitely taken over the center of the nerd universe for right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I say for right now because, like all things, I expect it to rise and fall and rise and fall.
Yeah, I'm far more
Hopefully there won't be
familiar
a
with
crash.
the alternative rather than the original story, but yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, I've had a list of shitty hobbies that have come to peaks and I've watched them fall again. Comic books, they had their rise in the 90s and fell. They're just in another rise right now. Japanese animation, watch that rise really heavily in the 90s and then fall like a stone in the 2000s. And then pro wrestling. I watched that rise and fall 3 times in my fucking lifetime.
Really?
Oh god, pro wrestling, there were certain times where it was all over the place in the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s, and then periods in the same decades where people just didn't understand why anyone watched it. And I can kind of understand all of that. Pro wrestling kind of lives and dies by its characters, and in all 3 decades there were periods where they had great characters and then periods where there were just a bunch of boring assholes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, next up we have nerd interest news. Being nerds, we do talk about technological, sociological, and personal innovations that just kind of make life more interesting. And the first story, if you follow the news the last few days, will not be a surprise. And it's also the reason why V will soon be leaving the show.
What?
NASA
What's
officially
happening in
announced that
Texas?
NASA officially announced that they found water on Mars.
Really?
You're not aware of this?
I saw a meme about it, but I didn't think it was factual.
This was a huge announcement in the last 2 days. NASA put out a gigantic press release and press conference stating that they've confirmed they have found evidence of liquid water on Mars. Now, it's not in huge amounts. It's not like you're going to find lakes suddenly forming in the near future.
Right.
But you've noticed that when we have landscape pictures of Mars, be it in color or in black and white, there are these very deep striations in some of the landscapes, especially in craters, right?
Mm-hmm.
It turns out what those deep colored striations is water that is melting or ice that's melting and rolling downhill inside those craters. Now, again, it's not like it's not a 100% game changer, but liquid water is one of those bases that scientists say is necessary for what we understand as life. That would also mean that potentially things like habitation of the planet is much more likely if there's some kind of groundwater that can be tapped. I do remember reading, though, that according to their study, the water in this, the water that they've observed would be very salty. It appears that the Martian water has a very high salt content, so it would need to be treated kind of heavily to be fit for human consumption.
Right.
But hey, that's a start.
Yeah, that could change a lot of things.
You know, that could really change the dynamics because they're talking about trying to send large-scale drones up to Mars to 3D print potential habitats for, not colonization, but at least the first astronauts to touch down and build a base.
I just thought that the Martian is already outdated.
Well, it could be. You know, next thing you know, we discover water, and then there's a bunch of saucers that come from Mars directly over here, and all you hear is a bunch of ack. Okay, no one else has seen that film?
No, I've seen it. I'm just...
Okay. I tried.
I was expecting Marvin the Martian.
That is not one I can do very well. There's also some high-resolution color photos that have come back from Pluto. And Pluto has a lot more color than I ever pictured. It's been described with a weird snakeskin texture. I take it you guys haven't seen this photo.
I may have.
No.
I don't think so.
I didn't expect Pluto to be this ruddy. Take a look.
Yeah.
I've always pictured it as a giant ice ball. I never pictured red.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Depends on whatever else they collected.
Well, I don't know what's underneath that ice. I mean, you can see some of the pockmarks where meteorites have hit it, but other than that, there's not a whole lot of features to this moon. Dwarf planet. I'm used to calling it a planet. Now it's not a planet anymore, and I still don't know what the fuck to call it.
Well, it's
Other
not
than, well, it's probably going to be the next $40 expansion. It's probably going to be the next $40 Destiny expansion. Now, if engineers ever plan to build things on nanoscale, they're going to need the next innovation that's come out. There is a wrench that is just 1.7 nanometers across. Researchers from the University of Vermont have created it. It is a molecularly sized wrench capable of taking molecules and pulling them and pushing them into place.
Interesting.
It's a technique that leverages an attribute of molecules known as chirality. A molecule is considered chiral if it comes in two identical but mirrored forms. Molecules can be like hands. They can either be right or left oriented, basically. With a nano wrench, you can change that chiral orientation. According to one of the project chemists, Serafin Schneebel, quote, "They're like Legos."
So, does that mean that's just,
I'm sorry?
I guess more like finer control. What could, do they have
Yeah.
to be listing like possibilities for why they're doing it?
They didn't list possibilities, but the early possibilities that come into my mind are potential cellular surgery and manipulation,
Right?
and creation of nanotechnology. You know, if you're going to create
medical technology would be
Yeah.
vastly.
well, I mean, nanobots are not necessarily self-repair, so a nano wrench would be very required at this point.
Good point.
It's one of those weird concepts that doesn't have a lot of obvious intentions or uses, but I can see how this could be very necessary. Twitch is adding new features starting in 2016. Twitch, a lot of people will know that as a streaming service where artists and creators can share their video creations directly with their fan bases or with new readers. It was formally announced at TwitchCon as of last weekend. You can have video uploads now that don't require streaming. You can actually upload videos to Twitch. Twitch before was a streaming service. Now you can actually share your videos offline, and Twitch will still host the video. You can also
damper on YouTube.
a little. Here's another thing. They can also give people custom thumbnail art and arrange playlists now, or at least starting next year. They're moving from Flash to HTML5. Twitch is currently part of both,
Finally.
but yeah, they're finally moving to HTML5. And there's other stuff on the way, including a dedicated PlayStation app, improved whisper functionality, and more. So it looks like Twitch is really starting to move into the general video market instead of just streaming.
Well, YouTube just tapped into the streaming market,
Yeah.
so
So
competition.
yeah, you take my dirk, I steal your sword. Okay, Domino's had a nice response to somebody.
Oh,
You guys familiar with the story that came out last week of Mike Vegas? He lives
sounds
in Berkeley.
familiar.
He lives in Berkeley, California. He ordered Domino's pizza, right? Actually, I'm sorry, he didn't order Domino's pizza. He ordered from Domino's chicken wings. He just got an order of chicken wings. So the delivery driver brings him his stuff. He pays for it. The driver drives off. He turns around, goes in his kitchen, opens up his wings, grabs a plate, and realizes he has no wings.
It was an empty box?
No, it was a box with $1,300 in cash.
Oh, shit.
Oh wow, that's a fuck up.
Wow.
Yeah, it turns out that the delivery driver was also supposed to be dropping off a bank deposit,
Oops.
and it was hidden in one of the pizza boxes so that people wouldn't look for a bank bag. So,
Oops.
after going on Facebook, Mr. Vegas decided to ask his friends, should I return the money?
Yes, you dumb shit.
To which I'm sure a bunch of his friends argued endlessly about what he should do, but he did return the money.
Good.
The Domino's
Since having this.
this is where it gets cool. The Domino's branch, as a thank you for returning their deposit money, is giving Mr. Vegas free pizza for a year.
Nice.
Sweet.
That's a nice response. I mean, they could have just given him thank you and like an extra $50 and said, hey, that's great. No, they gave him pizza for a year without question. That's awesome.
I would do that.
Yeah. What that also means, though, is that Mike Vegas should host parties for the next year. And invite the rest of us.
On pizza. Damn it.
The season of the Force is beginning early in Disneyland. This is something I did not know about. We all know that they've talked about Star Wars Land coming to Disneyland and Disney World, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We know that next year they're supposed to break ground in Tomorrowland and start transforming it from just Tomorrowland into the Star Wars Land they intended for, right?
Okay.
Turns out Disney's not waiting. Beginning November 16th of this year, Disneyland Park guests are going to have the chance to jump into Lightspeed with what they call the Season of the Force. You're going to have opportunities to meet some of your favorite Star Wars characters, experience some twists on existing attractions, and more, starting the middle of next month.
Wow.
They're going to have things like the Star Wars Launch Bay. It's going to be a new area that offer opportunities to visit with Star Wars characters, special exhibits, and peeks at the Force Awakens and more. Star Tours, the adventure continues. The attraction is going to have a new scene inspired by the upcoming film, The Force Awakens. Jedi Training, Trials of the Temple. Starting December, a twist on the Jedi training experience will introduce new characters and a new villain from the Disney XD series Star Wars Rebels. Hyperspace Mountain. For a limited time, guests will join an X-Wing starfighter in battle in this reimagining of the Space Mountain attraction. You'll have an opportunity to revisit favorite scenes from classic Star Wars films at Tomorrowland Theater. And there will be special themed food, beverage, merchandise, and entertainment.
It sounds like a good deal.
You know what? I'm not a Star Wars fan, but sign me the fuck up, man. I'd like to see this.
I agree.
To-
I'm also not really a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, but as they build the new Star Wars attraction, there will be some minor closures going on in the next year. It's expected that the Disney Railroad at all stations will be closed for a limited amount of time, and all attractions along the rivers of America, including Fantasmic, the Mark Twain Riverboat, the sailing ship Columbia, Pirate's Lair on Tom Sawyer Island, and the Davy Crockett Explorer canoes. I think that's an awesome group of announcements, though. So that makes me even more excited to visit the park in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
And last up in nerd interest news, you know how sometimes the Kinja branch of websites, including IO9 and Kotaku, they ask their readers for stories?
Mm-hmm.
In this case, Jezebel.com, one of their member sites, asked for stories, and I almost didn't read it, but I kind of have to. They decided to ask their readers the best stories of hurting yourselves while having sex.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
God, this is going to be great.
I can read it. The first one of these is kind of long. It's from a reader named Nevermind Edith. And it starts off, quote, "Scene, my bedroom, 2 a.m., after a bottle and a half of wine. Players, in a theater sense, not like a gloss way to say lovers or whatever, my husband, and also my me." Okay. "We were young, early 20s, shitty on wine, having laugh sex, where we sort of clumsily bounced around the bedroom, laughing and not totally putting all the parts where they needed to go, but getting the basics right. I decided I was feeling brave, no, heroic, and I was going to try deep-throating for the first time.
Oh, God.
Now, my husband has a generous downstairs, so this felt like an undertaking." All of a sudden, this sounds like a wrestling joke. I jokingly stretched and jogged in place. Then I put my sexy face on. Full of wine confidence, I felt like I was going to crush this blowjob. I remembered then that I read a tip that you should lay down on your back with your head sort of off the bed and let the dude get in that way, so your neck isn't at a 90-degree angle, and you reduce your chances of triggering a gag reflex. So I suggested that, and we got into place. I lay down and dropped my head off the bed. I immediately felt nauseated.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering.
Yeah, remember, bottle and a half of wine. I ignored it because I was going to be a blowjob legend. I was going to do this thing. Blowjob legends don't get nauseated. Blowjob legends get shit done. So he started slow, and I reached around and grabbed his ass and pushed him past the gag limit because I was a penis professional, and God damn it, I can do this. And then, God damn it, I can't do this. Within seconds, my wine-filled belly was angry, volcanic. I immediately squirmed away, and I ran to the bathroom, where I threw up violently into the sink because I couldn't make the extra 2 steps to the toilet. So there I am, naked, vomiting, and peeing, and my sweet, loving husband timidly approaches the door and says, "Can I do anything to help?"
Aww.
And because I am still so drunk and embarrassed by my blowjob legend title has been stripped from me, I try to simultaneously run away to the shower and close the door at the same time, except the floor is covered in pee and a little bit of puke, and I slip.
Oh.
I still have a scar on the very edge of my hairline on my forehead where I hit the cupboard counter on the way down.
Oh.
She ends the story with, "I am much better at blowjobs now," unquote. Do we want one more?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, this one is titled "Getting Swole" with user Lord Coca-Cola. Oh, no, sorry, Lord Coca-Cola. Jesus Christ. Quote, finally, I can reveal the true story of my past injury thanks to the anonymity of the internet. I was over the top intoxicated at a friend's house. God, these start the same way. And was desperately trying to initiate an FWB romp with a bud of mine. The foul taste of regret. Once the night slowed down and people went to bed. As he was also heavily intoxicated, he obliged and we fumbled around the dark dining room for a bit. Then I spotted one of those pull-up bars in the door frame, stumbled over to it, and pulled myself up, asking for the guy to essentially do me as I lifted my own body weight. Once again, he obliged, and after only a few pumps in, I slipped off the bar and he didn't catch me. I fell directly onto my tailbone, and seeing as I was near blackout at this point, I shook it off and hobbled over to an available bed where he proceeded to finish the job while I starfished, the pain not even registering in the slightest. He had to leave early the next morning for work, so when I awoke, I was alone and had beyond searing pain in my lower back. I couldn't physically get out of bed. I also didn't have my phone near me, so I yelled to my friend who lived there, their name over and over with no response. Turns out he thought I had left with my friend and he was out with a bunch of his girlfriends, which I found out hours later when he returned. I was so embarrassed about what had happened, mainly because I didn't want anybody to know my FWB agenda. So I said I drunkenly fell on my ass the night before and needed help out of bed. He drove me home and kept insisting to take me to the hospital, but I couldn't admit to myself to explain the situation. FWB guy claimed he didn't remember what happened at all, which I chose to believe at the time, and it's also embarrassing to point out that it wasn't even a house party, just a gathering of 4 that turned into me probably getting a strained tailbone that I didn't treat, so it didn't go away for at least a month and a half, unquote.
Oh.
Woof. One more?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, this is from user HC Hammer and is titled "Stay Out of the Shower." Quote, "This is an important story that should always be used as a warning. They should teach it in sex ed in non-crazy religious states because it's a dire warning. Oh heck, teach it at Alabama because it ruins every pretense of sexiness." A guy and I segued from "We're just friends" into "Friends with Bennies." So I don't just mean the delicious brunch foods. One glorious Tuesday morning, we decided to move things into the shower. Things went south. Maybe it was the humidity, maybe it was the lack of proper food, maybe it was something obstructing my ability to breathe. Spoiler, penis. At any rate, I became really, really lightheaded. Suddenly I announced I need to leave. Managed to make it out of the shower before blacking out, soaking wet, completely naked, on his bathroom tile. He had to drag me halfway out of the bathroom, remember, he's also naked, and was about to call an ambulance when I regained consciousness. Thankfully, his housemate did not wander by. Just remember, kids, be careful in the shower. The humidity can get you, unquote.
Okay.
What the frick is this? There's a short story here from a user named 3 Boys Mom's Mother-in-Law, and it's titled, "Don't Spray Banaka Directly into Someone's Genitals."
Yeah.
That seems like a generally good idea.
Quote, "My mother-in-law decided she was going to give my father-in-law a banaka blowjob. She didn't realize you're supposed to spray it in your mouth, not on your husband's cock. So she basically sprayed fire all over his junk."
Oh, God.
Oh.
But that's not the most painful part of the story. The most painful part was her recounting it to me in great detail, unquote.
Oh.
Oh, okay. There's one more here I got to read from a user named Von Queso. She titles it "Story of a Few Words: A Sexy Haiku." This is written in haiku form. Ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Quote: "Chop habaneros. For salsa, forget hand wash. Finger banging bad." Unquote.
Ow.
Oh gosh.
We'll post a link so you guys can read as many personal tragedy stories as you want. That was fun. I'm just trying to picture finger banging after habaneros, and it's just a fucking nightmare. Not a nightmare for me personally, because male can finger bang cannot, but still, you get what I mean.
You empathize
Habaneros and anywhere down there, regardless of gender, bad.
Yeah, very bad. Fire bad!
Fire that.
Last up is our What the Fuck Corner. We talk about those stories across the internet that just make you sit up and go, what the blue fuck, man? And as usual, because it's What the Fuck, I have video game clips.
Okay.
And the first one is not a video game gone wrong. It's not a video game bug. It is one of those, well, I guess technically it is a video game bug, but it worked out tremendously in the player's favor. It is from an old favorite of the males on this show, Destiny. And the title of the video kind of buries the lead, but it's necessary, and you guys are going to read it anyway. It's called Sunbreaker Too Strong. I sent the video.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, look,
Okay.
wonky bulkheads.
Yeah, so this is a story of a Sunbreaker, which is a Titan classic, and throw grenades that cause this weird, I guess you could say chain explosion effect, right?
Oh no, he's got the
Well, he's using the
dropping
hammers
spots.
right now, but he's not using that anymore. You see what's going on in there?
Oh god!
It's creating
What
a
the
chain.
hell?
It's creating
Yeah,
a
it's
chain
creating a chain
explosion
effect.
on a spawn point. As they
Oh,
spawn in, they're
gosh.
exploding in the fire. And as you can see, the player is not quite sure what to do right now. And it
watch
just
pretty
keeps-
fireworks.
Yeah. And he is gaining experience for this. And he just decides to take a seat and watch the pretty fire.
Okay, that might have been why they patched today.
Yeah. And you see his partner come in and go, "Hey, what? Hey, what? Okay, dude, what the fuck did you do?"
Yeah, I know abilities.
You think he's roasting marshmallows?
His friends
force?
over there shoving him. Hey, fix this.
Yeah.
I
And there's
can't.
just Cabal flying out of this door immediately on fire. You think after the 20th one, somebody would stand behind that door and go, "Hey, George, maybe we should find another door, right?"
What? Why are they continuing to come out?
I don't know,
Because
man.
It's one of those. It's one of those. He found another loot cave essentially.
Or
I know
it's a
where
cl-
that's at.
Or it's the Cabal version of a clown car. When I saw that, I just had to share it because initially I wasn't impressed, but the further that went along, holy fuck, that's weird. The next one is it's a kind of glitch we've seen very frequently, but we haven't seen it in this type of game before. This one features the new Mad Max game, based on the Fury Road franchise.
Mm-hmm.
The title of this particular video from the channel of Bald Guy 71 on YouTube is titled "Mad Max Punched His Soul."
Ready?
Okay.
When you see the video, you will totally understand. I sent it. So you see the Avatar running around in some kind of citadel or something. And he runs across, whoops, two bad guys, surprise. And he starts punching, right?
Yep.
Puts that guy down, finished him. Second one, kicks him right into the
him.
fence, and holy shit, what happened to his head?
Oh.
Oops.
Oh fuck.
I almost
Turned him
expect
into a poltergeist.
I know, the way his body is just spinning around inside the wall, you almost expect Patrick Swayze to come out, Whoopi Goldberg's body. It reminds me of those phantasms that just kind of rip your soul down to hell.
As long as he doesn't go into the detective mode, I'm fine.
I don't think you have that in this game, thankfully.
I know, but still.
You can't even tell which body part you're staring at anymore. It's all jumbled together. Occasionally a leg comes streaming out, but And it's dancing all over the fucking wall.
Yeah. True modern art.
It's one of those cases where you have to consider, do I kill myself? Because this power is not meant for one human being.
It's like a meat popsicle.
All right, Fist of the North Star.
I am a meat popsicle. And he looted.
And he runs
Okay.
over and he's like, okay, I'm done with this.
I'll just leave that for somebody else to clean up. Okay, I have one more video game glitch to go with you guys, and it's an oldie but a goodie. Assassin's Creed Unity has come up with a little bit more broken weirdness.
Oh, fun.
And this one I actually have to lay out for you a little bit, because it's called the haystack glitch, according to Ross M's channel. Now, when you dive into a haystack from high up, you have the ability to hide in that haystack until you crawl out of it, right?
Yeah.
And from that haystack, you can drag in nearby soldiers and assassinate them in quiet where nobody can see. This haystack did not work that way. I sent the video. There he is, on high. The assassin dives into the haystack, and there I am. And what happened? Did his penis just drag that guy in?
The hell?
Because the assassin from the waist up is just standing in the haystack, and his arms never move, but something reaches out and grabs that soldier and drag him into the hay bale. I can only assume either he has prehensile thumbs on his feet, or Liam Neeson's cock just reached out, grabbed the guy, and strangled him to death before bringing him inside.
He moved him with his mind.
That was just so odd. Unfortunately, from one odd, I have to move into the next. And there is a guy in... God, where's... Danish. Where's it? Denmark?
Denmark, yes.
Okay. There's a guy in Denmark who is in serious, serious trouble. He lives in Bloemfontein, South Africa.
Uh-huh.
And police went into his home after getting reports that he takes part in female genital mutilation.
Oh.
He's one of those people that takes money from families so he can remove the clitoris of women's of daughters so they don't enjoy having sex. They just kind of turn into... They don't enjoy sex. They just turn into baby factories, more or less. This man owns a gun shop, and after a tip, police went in and checked his freezer. They found 21 pieces of female genitalia in the freezer.
Why is he keeping
kept
it?
I don't know why he did, but yes, he did keep it.
That's so many levels of gross.
Yeah, the man is a Danish citizen living in South Africa, and he, according to the New York Post, quote, he dismissed the accusations against him as totally unfounded, adding, "It is my wife who keeps these kinds of things. I've never, ever committed anything criminal in South Africa," unquote.
I like that he specified in South Africa.
I'm more impressed that he said, no, I don't keep these things. That's my wife's. To which I'm sure his wife said, "Bitch, keep me out of this."
Probably.
I've got one of my own, unless she removed it.
No, that's when she borrows one of his guns and say, "Fuck you."
Yeah, the guy was later identified as 63-year-old Peter Fredrickson, suspected of performing off-the-books female circumcisions and keeping the excised tissue as trophies. He apparently learned his skill, and he boasted about it to Danish journalists. In a radio interview, he claimed to have performed the controversial surgery on his wife and her friend.
Gross.
The guy
Well,
was
he can go to hell.
he was claimed to be towed by a notorious Danish quack named Jorn Egge, who's known as Dr. Penis for his attempts at enlargement surgeries. Fuck, I'm out. You know, jeez. If that's what this guy is doing, I'm almost... That's one of those points where you almost want to say, I don't know, an eye for an eye sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's see how you enjoy sex when you're missing the tip of something, buddy. Ugh. Okay, I have to go from a weird what the fuck to a glorious what the fuck. And it's glorious in the fact that this is not something I would ever do. I don't think this is something anybody in the show would ever do. But to watch it occur, fucking A, you people are insane. You guys ever heard of Graham Dickinson and Dario Zanon?
No.
I think so.
Okay, Graham Dickinson is the one who put this on YouTube. Dario Zanon is one of those extreme sports enthusiasts. Specifically, he loves doing squirrel suits.
Okay.
For people who don't know, squirrel suits are basically skydiving suits with flaps added underneath the arms and between the legs so that you can glide at high speeds on air currents, right?
Yeah.
It allows a significant amount of control in your glides. Now, Dario decided to jump off a cliff, and his buddy Graham jumped off behind him, and Graham decided to put a fucking GoPro on his helmet.
Oh.
He followed Dario, and I swear to God, it looks like Dario is scraping the fucking earth in this video. I sent it.
Dario's ready.
Okay, so you can hear a little bit of French, right?
3, 2.
Watch this. They're jumping now.
Vive la France!
And you see Dario up ahead, right?
Yeah.
Turns out Dario's also wearing a GoPro pointed behind him. Now look how close Dario gets to these cliffs. It looks like he's passing within tens of feet.
Yeah.
And look at him down this gully.
This is insane.
I can't even guess what speed this is at this point just because they're turning so quickly.
Yeah.
If he gets any lower, he's going to pick up a rabbit. Now look at him. See him zip down this ravine?
Oh.
He's jumping between trees. This guy is fucking crazy.
What kind of apparatus is
Damn.
What was that, V?
It's like wingsuit flight. Is that something common?
It's getting
I
to be
think it's
more
been-
common. The wingsuit technology's come a long way in the past few years.
Yeah, it's been around for quite a while, at least a decade.
I mean, speaking of which, there's a notorious base jumper who died, I think, just yesterday. I don't have the exact story in front of me because I didn't want to get morbid after something that interesting, but there's a lot of extreme sports enthusiasts out there. Now, I know that in a lot of the games, Super Mario has ridden Yoshi a number of different ways. Most of them involve punching in the back of the skull.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be as successful if he did it to this thing. Somebody in Japan decided to make a Yoshi cycle. Take a look. Take a look for yourselves, because I can't describe it any better than that. I found this on Kotaku.
What's that at the end of the tongue?
I am not 100%. It's a custom motorcycle in Osaka.
Huh.
It's disturbing.
Oh, okay. The tongue is holding a can of 556 lubricant. Why? I'm not entirely sure, but that's the way he built it.
Huh. Well,
This is entertaining and horrifying on different levels.
I'm assuming the lubricant is not a fix. It can be removed and replaced.
It can be removed and I guess used. I don't know if maybe the custom job creates a lot of squeaky wheels on this thing.
Yeah, I would assume something like that.
Yeah. Do you guys remember last week we had a lot of interesting videos regarding marine mammals doing what they do?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of falls in the same vein. Have you heard of European eels?
No.
Okay, they're critically endangered. They're very endangered. And to understand their habits more, scientists attach trackers to a number of them. But 3 of the trackers started to return very strange data. Okay? European eels tend to live most of their lives in rivers, but they'll migrate out into the ocean to the Sargasso Sea, where they spawn and die. It's how their life cycle goes.
Mm-hmm.
And once the eels stay in the deep water, there's very little known about what happens at that point. Most of the eels made it to the Sargasso 3, but 3 were not that lucky. According to the report, quote, for 3 of the tags, 25 to 256 days after release, there was a dramatic rise in temperature from 10 degrees Celsius to 36 degrees Celsius. And the dive profile changed from depths of 300 to 1,000 meters in repeated ascents to the surface. 2 of the tags had sufficient sampling rate to resolve the dives in detail. They recorded a total of 91 dives to a maximum depth of 250 to 860 meters, lasting 11 to 12 minutes, and with surface intervals of 5 to 7 minutes. More than 2/3 of the dives include a rapid descent from approximately 500 meters to 600 to 700 meters. The deep dives were associated, unquote. The deep dives were associated with short drops in temperature, and it turns out it wasn't that big of a mystery what happened. The scientists were getting telemetry of the 3 trackers from the European eels, which were inside the belly of a fucking whale.
Whoops.
Very likely a pilot whale. So, yes, you just found out a lot about what happens to European eels after they die. They turn to whale poo.
Lunch.
You imagine that, being a scientist, thinking you just discovered all the strange new habits of European eels, or at least of a few weird ne'er-do-wells, and just turns out, nope, just got swallowed. The Phi Gamma Delta fraternity at James Madison University is in a bit of trouble.
Oh, what do they do?
It turns out there is a frat rush guide. You know, frat rush is the recruitment period for fraternities. Their frat rush guide included rating freshman women in the college by a hot level.
Oh, what?
They actually measured the hotness of the freshman girls at
Oh,
James Madison University. This particular fraternity did anyway. A tipster sent the guide out to the media sources. It included the names, room numbers, and a 1 to 10 hotness ranking of freshman girls in a particular dormitory. The reason for this is that so potential frat brothers, rushes, can find them and bring them to parties. Fuck, I thought we were way past this kind of behavior by now.
No.
Yeah, right.
According to the orientation week packs, it begins, quote, "Welcome. Congrats. You now have plans for tonight. End of story. You're going out. You have a job to do. Follow these steps and I will ensure you have a great frog week, guaranteed." Unquote. The guide then divulges the 8 steps required to become a brother. Some of the highlights, quote, "Leave your suite door open all of frog week. This, per Fiji, ensures new potential brothers will meet the babes. Go to your dorm meeting. This will give rushies a chance to get a glimpse at all the hot tail in the dorm. Note on attire, get dressed quickly to go out and party your face off. If you wear cargos or socked with Sperry's, you will be castrated. Turn up the Casanova level to I'm not settling for anything less than a solid 8 tonight," unquote.
wow.
According to the story on Gawker, Step 5 was worth reading in its entirety. Quote, "I have written a list of hot girls in their suite/room in the dorm. Now this is a little creepy thing to do, but necessary, so let's keep this low key. You must travel together to all the suites on this list and invite these girls to the parties. Social schedule will also be attached. You are to introduce yourselves, build rapport. If you don't know what that is, look it up, you degenerates. Invite them, their whole suite, to the party of the respective night, and tell them to come up to your suite around 9 p.m. to pregame. Don't forget to get their phone numbers. Now I'm praying you guys brought liquor or something that allows you to pregame," unquote.
That's incredibly scummy.
Yeah, it's pretty lowbrow. The rest of the steps deal with logistics, like around 9:30 to 10 p.m. tonight, I will come get you. You all better have girls there. Also, like I said above, do not show them this or tell them anything about me. They cannot know about this.
Of course not.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. The
Obviously,
president
someone told.
The president of the fraternal order responded to the story with a statement. They redacted the name, quote, "acted totally on his own in writing the letter that has sparked this controversy. This letter does not respect the values that our chapter promotes and our members embrace. Accordingly, he's been removed from our chapter. We will continue to cooperate with the university in every way necessary to resolve this matter." Unquote. Probably until next semester.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever had to teach a friend a lesson?
In what way?
No.
Have you ever had to teach a friend a lesson by breaking into their house?
No.
No.
Definitely not.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt got such a lesson from Channing Tatum.
Okay.
Okay, this sounds interesting.
It's less interesting than you think, but it's kind of extreme. See, Joseph Gordon-Levitt had a pretty lackadaisical attitude when it came to his own stardom and security. He just didn't feel the need that all this extra shit was really required. And Channing Tatum had several conversations with him about security, and it just didn't get through. So to teach him this particular lesson one night while he was asleep, while Joseph Gordon-Levitt was asleep, I should say, Channing Tatum broke into his house.
Oh.
He broke into his house just to prove how bad his security is, and if he was someone with ill intent, he could have killed him. According to Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who spoke to Gotham magazine, quote, "You mean the time you climbed up the space of my apartment, broke into my house, and surprised me when I was sleeping in order to prove that I should probably take better care of myself because if you were ill-intentioned, you could have murdered me?" Unquote. To his credit, after that happened, Joseph Gordon-Levitt did a few things to improve his personal security.
He's like, okay, you got me. I'll fix it.
Yeah.
Like,
At the very
move,
least-
and not tell Channing Tatum where he moved to.
I was about to say, at the very least, I'm not going to let Channing Tatum back in my fucking house.
Now, was he pissed?
He
I
appreciated
would
the lesson.
imagine at the time.
Yeah, he appreciated the lesson, although I'm sure that's one of those few times where somebody did not say they wanted to wake up to Channing Tatum being hovering directly over them.
Not at all.
Yeah. Last up in our What the Fuck corner, how bad have you ever wanted to quit the job?
Pretty
Really
damn
bad.
Yeah, how bad has your job ever made you just want to say, fuck it all, I'm done?
I did that once.
Okay. There's a 22-year-old named Christopher Pregant. He took this to a very bad degree. He worked at a chocolate factory. I'm sure not everything is Willy Wonka. It's probably not as fun as, gumdrops on trees and shit, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, he decided he had enough of his job, but apparently quitting was not enough of him. So he stole a coworker's cell phone, called under a different employee's name to the police, and called a bomb threat.
What?
Ugh.
Okay, welcome to prison time.
Yeah. Pregant first told police he received a bomb threat, then later changed his story. Then he confessed to the officers that he was unhappy with his job and just wanted to get the fuck out.
Then get the fuck out.
Congratulations on nuking the bridge.
Yeah,
Right.
he's now facing charges on false public alarm, petite larceny, and unlawful mischief. I mean, to make things even weirder, not only did he steal a coworker's cell phone and pretend to be another coworker to make this call, but when he was done, he took the stolen cell phone and threw it in the toilet.
Dick.
Yeah.
What the
I
fuck? He
assume
needed
this
that back.
coworker. I'm assuming this coworker pissed him off at some point.
I have no idea. If you're
Maybe it was
that
actually
mad,
his friend.
I mean, there were so many other ways to go about this that could have prevented him from having jail time. I mean, I don't know. It's almost disgusting, but I'm going to say at this point, it's better to actually piss in the cocoa mix than it would be to call in a bomb threat. I mean, really, man, if you're that mad, just fucking leave. There's got to be something else going on in whatever state this is. As Jezebel put it, at least throw flaming hot Cheetos into a vat of chocolate or something.
Right?
The discussion.
Extra bold.
Yeah, really. The discussion of this week is the Marvel movie of Ant-Man starring Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, and Michael Douglas. This movie came out earlier this year. I think it was just May of this year, correct?
Yeah.
Something
So
like that.
the movie should be up for sale pretty soon if it's not already. Oh, no, it wasn't May of this year. It was July of this year. That's right. May was Age of Ultron.
June or July.
Right,
yeah,
right.
you're right. Yeah.
So Ant-Man should come out just before Christmas. Now, the story of the movie was that Michael Douglas, playing Hank Pym, wanted his technology to be stolen back from the guy who ended up taking over his company of Pym Technologies. Damian Cross, I think was his name.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think I have that wrong somehow, but I'm not 100% certain. Anyway, so he finds a former engineer turned robber in the form of Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd, teaches him how to use his suit that allows him to shrink, and then entices him to steal the technology. I will be honest, I was not wowed by this film. I was hoping it would be funnier than it was.
I thought it was quite humorous myself.
I was
I thought it was
thoroughly
hilarious,
entertained with
too.
it, but yeah, I will admit it wasn't the greatest thing that Marvel's put out.
I'm not saying it was a shitty movie. I was just hoping it was a true-born comedy, like the first one of Marvel's line that was going to be a comedy, and it didn't quite reach that level.
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I was entertained. I was amused. I mean, some of the jokes were rather juvenile, but I mean, you kind of have to accept
I'm
that.
okay with that.
It has to have a range considering the amount of people
Anthony.
that are going to go seeing it.
Paul Rudd did a good job, though. It's a tough role to pull. It's a tough road to pull off in any format. It's not like Ant-Man has ever really starred in anything in Marvel Comics.
Right. I mean, I don't think has he ever really had his own comic. He's always just kind of been part of the Avengers.
He's had his own comic more recently since they announced the Ant-Man movie, but prior to that, I think there were some short minis Don't quote me on that. During the era I've been collecting comics since the mid-'80s, Ant-Man has not had his own book until very recently. The Wasp was more likely to get her own book than Ant-Man was.
Right?
Yeah. I have to say, out of the possible people to don the Ant-Man suit, I think they made the good choice as far as not going with Hank Pym and instead going with Lang.
I wanted Eric O'Grady.
That would have made it a true comedy.
Yeah, I wanted the Eric O'Grady Ant-Man. That's what I was really hoping for.
What was the Eric O'Grady Ant-Man like?
Eric O'Grady is kind of an interesting story. He's the third guy to have ever been Ant-Man, except he was the only one nobody picked to be Ant-Man. Hank Pym, while he was working for the Avengers, developed a couple of Ant-Man prototypes that were in S.H.I.E.L.D. custody. And Eric O'Grady was like a level 1, like the basis level S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, whose job it was to guard the storehouse. And when he got bored one day, he started poking around and found a prototype Ant-Man suit and put it on. And he didn't put it on to be a hero. He didn't put it on to make a difference. He put it on so he could peek in the women's shower. That was his purpose. It was going pretty well for him until one of the people he managed to peek on was a young lady named Carol Danvers who managed to spot the suit. He didn't understand who that was, and he also didn't understand when energy flew out of her hand and busted the shower head. Okay.
Nice.
But back to the movie. One of the things that kind of hit me both positive and negative was the role of Michael Pena in the film. He was the one who played one of Scott Lang's Confederates, Luis.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of the juvenile role right there.
Yeah,
It was a
hit and miss. I did laugh, but
I could have dealt without him in the movie.
I liked him. I could have done with less of him. The role he played throughout the film was fine, but when they got to... for those who don't know, the character of Luis, when there was a section of the movie that needed to be explained because, none of the characters involved had seen it, it would fall to him to explain the whole thing in this kind of Northern California slang fashion. And they had the actors act out the parts with his voice dubbing over every frickin' thing, which was funny for a couple minutes. But those sections stretched on too long, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it was necessary to set up the end, but at the same time, I could have done with less of them, but the end kind of like tied it together, and I was like, okay, that's actually kind of cool.
Well, it was like I said, the sections of storytelling were fine, but they needed to shorten it down because he had a habit of telling a story from one person's point of view, and then he would go on to the next person in this chain, and then he would tell from both of their points of views. Then when you add another person in the chain, he would tell from all three persons' point of views, and it turned into this real 12 Days of Christmas conundrum. Because when you get to that 9th or 10th day of Christmas, you want to stop the fucking song. It's been going on too long. And that's kind of where I hit with him. I was kind of surprised that T.I. could act. The black guy of the crew, Dave, that's the rapper T.I.
Oh, had no idea.
I did not know that. Corey Stoll is the one who played the villain of Yellow Jacket, or Darren Cross. I knew I had that wrong. I liked him okay.
Generic.
That was my problem. For as much as people complain about Ultron being a one-note villain, Darren Cross was not a one-note villain, but he was just kind of generic, pacey white guy you're going to dislike.
Yeah. He did do a good job of kind of going crazy towards the end.
Yeah.
But
now, I guess the question of the week going into the movie, what'd you guys think of Evangeline Lilly as Hope Van Dyne?
I enjoyed seeing her in the movie. I don't think she had a bad role or did a bad job.
I wasn't really impressed by the character in particular, but yeah, I think she did a good job.
I think that's because the character kind of shifted roles a lot through the film.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, she was kind of the Darren Cross's Gal Friday. Then you find out that she's a spy. Then you find out that she's been physically training for something that's been kind of mysterious. And then you find out that the entire time she's been arguing that she should be the one to wear the Ant-Man suit. Like she's been training like a boxer just for the idea of getting in this suit at some point.
Yeah.
And she wasn't. She had a point.
She had a point, but it wasn't a great point because, as her father, Hank Pym pointed out, she's their spy. If she just suddenly disappears, everybody's going to know what's happening.
Yeah, that's true.
And he also needed somebody that's used to the idea of stealing something, which she was not. Scott Lang's history was high-class theft.
Well, Robin Hood-esque in a way as well.
Yeah. I do think the best tagline to come out of the movie definitely came from Paul Rudd. Or, no, not Paul Rudd. It came from one of the extras in the movie. No, shit. Actually, I got that wrong. I think the best tagline in the movie came from Luis, or Michael Pena's character.
Uh-huh.
That's Baskin Robbins. They always find out, man. Like Baskin Robbins is some kind of high security agency.
Yeah.
I really liked that transition too, from I'll find a job to welcome to Baskin Robbins.
I tell you what, though, the real surprise for me throughout the movie, and the thing I liked the most and didn't expect to, was Michael Douglas as Hank Pym.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
He did do a good Hank Pym.
He
was kind of that arrogant, but at the same time, with good intentions.
It wasn't the arrogance that impressed me; it was the volatility. Because that's one thing the character of Hank Pym has had throughout comics. He's volatile, practically bipolar, if not written as completely bipolar. And that first scene where they de-age the characters and Michael Douglas is telling people, you can't do this with my technology, you can't do that, and that one bureaucrat from S.H.I.E.L.D. says, of course we can, and we're going to do it. And without hesitation, Douglas just grabs the back of his head and slams his face into the table.
I was hell yeah.
As soon as I saw that, I'm like, okay, that's fucking Hank Pym. And I thought he encapsulated the character extremely well at all phases. I especially like the end when he caught Scott Lang, kissing his daughter, and he just walks through and says, and what was it? Red just says, yeah, I was kind of on my way out. You're full of shit, Scott.
Yeah.
Didn't he say?
Well, tries to blame it on her at first. Yeah. It's just like, how dare you stop me? I was on my way out. And he's like, you're full of shit. I know. the enlarged ant, kind of like a pet dog at the end. That was amusing.
Yeah, Anthony.
Oh, that wasn't Anthony. Anthony died.
Yeah, Anthony got shot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really very sad.
I really wasn't.
Took a bullet.
Yeah, I wasn't really too.
Well, okay, I wasn't that sad, but.
No, it really wasn't.
No, she was sad. She was sad. I did think that the movie did some decent research on the different types of ants out there. I knew there have been a number of varieties, but nobody's ever really explained the differences. At least not to me.
And that was kind of an interesting take, just because, it's literally, the power of the suit being what it is, that's impressive. But then to sit there and get your own little kind of ant army and those being as effective as they were was, like, oh, wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that.
I did. Yeah. I loved the ant army. I thought that was brilliantly executed.
I was also kind of impressed about how the final script came together. I mean, I know Edgar Wright originally wrote it, and he and Marvel had creative differences. He left, and a couple other writers came in and had to kind of shoehorn it into what Marvel was looking for at the time. But whatever, or whomever's responsible for the final version, they did a good job of putting together a heist that only an inch-high hero could ever pull off.
Yeah.
Seriously, they set it up at such a point where it would have been impossible for anybody... Well, okay, rephrase. It wouldn't have been impossible for anybody else to do it, but it would have been impossible for any of the other existing Marvel cinematic heroes to do it quietly.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody else, it would have been obvious and loud. It's like Tony Stark would have drunk half the crew to death and then shot the rest with a repulsor blast. And if you're asking the Hulk to steal something, good luck to you. We'll see if you survive the talk.
Black Widow, maybe, but she's too big.
Yep.
There'd be a lot of unconscious bodies on the floor.
There'd be a lot more bodies on the ground.
Yeah, somebody had been there.
Yeah, that's true.
We know it the day after, but...
Now, what did you guys think of the Avengers cameo in the middle of the film by Anthony Mackie as the Falcon?
I enjoyed that. That was
I
amusing.
did too.
It was funny, but I think it got dragged out too long.
Really? I could have stand to see a little bit more.
I think that the length of it was necessary because that was the first scene you got of the full scope of what whoever's in the Ant-Man suit is capable of.
Right, against someone, not necessarily, I mean, because again, they're both people in a suit, not really with their own powers and so forth. So I think that was a good matchup.
Yeah.
Well, I actually maybe not be the length, but I think it's just doesn't seem as entertaining when I can only see one of the actors reacting to the fight.
But that's the way Ant-Man is always rolled throughout comics.
I know that.
Sometimes it's going to look like somebody fighting themselves.
Yeah, I know that, which I didn't find all that really entertaining. I did find a little bit of music, but not very entertaining.
I thought it was very interesting because it showed the adaptability necessary to deal with somebody that could shrink and grow like that.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let alone the idea of... It showed a little bit more of what the Falcon is capable of. In his 2 prior movie appearances, he's always been kind of strafing around, but not really directly involved in a lot of combat. In this case, it was actually one-on-one combat.
Wait, where did he appear?
Winter Soldier.
The Winter Soldier. And then he appeared again in a couple scenes in Age of Ultron.
Yep.
Oh, at the end there, right?
Yeah.
He was in the end when they reassembled, but he was also there in the beginning when they were fighting the first versions of Ultron, if you remember, when he took over the Iron Legion.
Oh,
He didn't have his wings on, but he was running around trying to do his best to assist. Which admittedly he had very limited options at that point.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It just wasn't quite what I expected for all the word going in about what kind of tone they were looking to set. I guess last up, I got to ask, what did you guys think of the portrayal of Stature, Cassie Lang?
Wait, sorry, who was that?
Cassie Lang, Scott's daughter.
And she's who?
Oh, she was adorable.
In comic books, she's a young Avenger.
Oh, I did not realize that.
Yeah, after Scott Lang died as a result of Avengers Disassembled, it turns out that Cassie had been slowly stealing Pym particles from his suit and was playing around with them. And eventually she had enough particles in her system, and she was able to learn how to shrink and grow in size. She called herself Stature.
Huh.
The character was subsequently killed in a later volume of Young Avengers, but somehow she's come back to life, but I haven't read the recent Ant-Man book, so I don't quite know what the story behind that is.
Well, in the movie, she's adorable.
The actress Abby Fortson, who played Cassie, she had a surprising amount of emotional range for a child.
Mm.
She did a good job of portraying emotions on her face and with her words. She did really well.
She was an unusually good child actor.
Mm-hmm. I was suitably impressed with her. And of course, Haley Atwell was in there for the cameo in the past as Peggy Carter. Looks like just when S.H.I.E.L.D. was starting out.
Right.
And John Slattery, who played Howard Stark in Iron Man 2, came back to be Howard Stark one more time. That was a pleasant surprise as well. Haley Atwell.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, Haley Atwell really has a strong female character nailed.
Agreed. I hope she's in a lot more things.
Well, unfortunately, she can't be unless there's more period pieces.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be Marvel.
True. It's just I have no idea what her general amount of projects is because everyone keeps talking about her as Peggy Carter in the Agent Carter TV series, but I don't hear a lot about what she does outside that. However, you've seen her Twitter feed as much as I have. The lady can't stop playing with stuff. And then there's her shit at Comic-Con where it seemed like she couldn't sit still to save her life. It's true. You saw what I saw.
Yeah.
So
all of them seem very fun-oriented.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, I guess I would say at the end of the day, Ant-Man is a solid watch. I just wouldn't put it near the top of my list when it comes to Marvel films.
Yeah, maybe not. I thought it was very succinct. Like, it got through everything that it was trying to portray very smoothly, and there wasn't a lot of, like, just downtime.
Yeah,
You know
it
what,
flowed very well.
It did flow well. I guess my personal issue with it is, after so many movies, I was kind of done with origin stories because I find myself really looking forward to seeing where Scott Lang goes in Civil War. Maybe I'm just done with origin stories in general. I just want to get on with the fucking story.
I can understand that, but I think Ant-Man does need an origin story because otherwise he
This is the first time in film that they've ever done it, so...
Well, it's the first time in any medium that Ant-Man is broken out of the comic books.
Right.
You know, there's been a couple of cartoon appearances, but those were both owned by Disney, and that's kind of a slam dunk.
Yeah, the only reason I was familiar with Ant-Man at all, well, other than our podcast, was through HeroClix.
I find that funny for reasons I can't quite articulate, but okay. I mean, do you guys recommend Ant-Man to other people, or is it something they can skip when it comes to the MCU?
If they're
Actually, I definitely recommend it. I enjoyed watching.
I would
the film.
recommend for a good laugh.
yeah,
Not to laugh at
the
how awful it's not awful at all, but it definitely does try to make you laugh. And I'll admit that our sense of humor may not be the same as everyone else's, so that one guy monologuing everything might be funny to someone. So.
Well, I was amused by it, but yeah, it did get a little old. But then when they tied it together with the end, I was like, okay.
Actually, would you guys like to know one Easter egg that was in the film that a lot of people tend to miss?
Okay.
All right.
Hank Pym once is holding up a newspaper, and on it is an article about a Sasquatch.
Oh.
There's a Canadian superhero in a team called Alpha Flight that's actually called Sasquatch. His real name is Walter Langowski.
Okay, I'm sorry, is it another, like, size alteration person?
No.
Shapeshifts into a little Sasquatch.
Okay. No. Shapeshifts into a big creature. It turns out that Walter Langowski has a mystic connection to one of the great beasts of Canada. I think it's called... I can't remember its real name. But it has the stereotypical appearance of a Sasquatch. So when he digs into this connection, he can actually take on the physical appearance of this great beast. And with that, he gets what you'd imagine, enhanced agility, super strength. Think beast, but less ape-like, more cuddly monster-like would be the best kind of description. Same kind of problem. Big brain and a beastly body. So, yeah, there was an Alpha Flight Easter egg.
Interesting.
Actually, Alpha Flight would be a heck of a property to dig into for a standalone film.
Oh, yeah.
You can't imagine doing it.
Well, I mean, it's a bunch of Canadian heroes, so it's not exactly for the U.S. market, but movies have pretty much gone globally anyway, and
That's true.
it's got a couple of Iron Man-esque characters. It's got a Doctor Strange-like character in it. It's got a few X-Men-like characters in it. That could actually...
Wolverine started in it.
No.
Not...
Well, kind of.
Within the history of the universe, yes.
Yeah.
No, he did not. He started off in Department H, which did own Alpha Flight, but he never actually worked with or for the team. He was being offered the leadership of the team, which is when he quit and decided to follow Xavier's offering to be an X-Man.
Huh. I thought he actually was in Alpha Flight at one point.
No, he just knew the people that took him in when he was on the run were Heather and MacArthur Hudson.
MacArthur, okay.
So he knew the leaders of Alpha Flight and the founders of Alpha Flight, but he was never officially a part of the team. And everybody knew him because he occasionally trained with them, but again, he was never part of the team.
Okay.
There were some early X-Men stories where Alpha Flight actually invaded the Xavier Mansion to bring him back by force, which did not go well.
No.
I don't think they thought that one through.
Well, they totally underestimated.
Yeah, if you think about it, though, they had good reason to go, because here they were, a governmentally, practically military-trained group of superhumans who were going to a mansion to deal with a bunch of what they probably perceived to be relatively low-trained mutants. It probably, on paper, didn't seem like that big of a stretch.
Fair
But
enough.
unfortunately, the group of mutants they ran into were Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Cyclops, not exactly people that are used to taking shit from other people.
Right.
But, wow, got off on a long fucking tangent there. The other part of the conversation, I asked you guys to check in on Hollywood Babylon because last week they released a recap episode where they did what they call Comic-Con Theater. What they do is they take issues of a comic book written by Kevin Smith, and they reenact it and read it to people in their audience. The particular story they were reading was Batman Cacophony. Did you guys check that out by chance?
I screwed up.
Yeah,
I
me too.
unfortunately caught the theater that they did this week, apparently, which was the 66 universe, which would be the original Batman television show teaming up with the
Green Hornet.
Green Hornet, yes.
I got, part of it, but I guess I didn't get the whole, 45 minutes of it.
It's not 45 minutes, it's 2 hours.
Okay, well, I didn't get quite that much, but enough to get
All
an
right, so
idea
no,
of
that
what
45 minute was the 45 minute thing I watched and what part of you listened to. It was actually part of it. I think they just broke it up.
No. They originally did it in issue blocks on their show, on their various podcasts, and then because they've been off for about a month now, the producers of the show put together something to keep people satiated in the meantime, so they took the 3 shows and fused into a show they released last week.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So all
they did
3
the
issues
same
of
thing
Batman
with
Cacophony.
they did the same thing with the Green Hornet and Batman crossover too.
Well, they put together 3 issues of it, but that particular reading was 6 shows. It was 6 issues.
Ah.
So they're not done with that. That's probably going to be released next week because I think they're recording their first live Hollywood Babylon this coming weekend in Las Vegas.
Right.
They've been off for a while because both Ralph Garman and Kevin Smith had different projects. So I'll tell you what, I will give you guys another week to get through that the Batman Cacophony because I think that deserves a conversation. It was interesting what they did there, at least in my opinion.
Okay.
Well, I did enjoy the Green Hornet Batman as well, basically because of the history that Garman went into with how he has worked with Adam West and was has formed a friendship with him and his family and so forth. That was interesting. I didn't realize that piece of trivia, and then just listening to him do the Joker plus Adam West Batman plus I can never remember
Cesar Romero.
Cesar Romero was Joker.
Yeah.
Adam West Batman,
and Burt Ward.
I can't remember who the actor is that does Burt Ward, but yeah, he did all of their voices, which was awesome.
The actor is Burt Ward.
Burt Ward as
Dick Grayson.
Dick Grayson. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
No, but I'll give you guys another week to go through Cacophony because I'd rather be on the same page as far as what the material is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I invite you guys to roll with us again next week when we go through Hollywood Babylon, Comic-Con Theater, Batman Cacophony. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great week. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
Jesse.
And B.
Don't jerk and drive. Enjoy.